That's right. Shang Ruai nodded. I can treat the disease, but everyone's physical condition is different. Even if they have the same disease, the severity will vary. So whether it can be cured or not, I have to wait until I personally take her pulse to know. Lu Mingzhou nodded. In that case, then I'll trouble you, little brother. As long as it can be cured, just ask for whatever you need. Shang Ruai smiled and said, I really need your help with something. Whatever it is, just ask. I need you to help me transport a batch of dairy cows to Qingshi town in Tianshan in a reasonable and legal manner. Lu Mingzhou had an indifferent smile on his face. If it were horses, it might take some trouble, but it was just a group of cows, so it was very simple. No problem. Shang Ruai followed Lu Mingzhou out of the back door of the casino, which was directly connected to a backyard. Shopkeeper Qian walked beside her and whispered, Thank you, sir, for your willingness to help our young lady with her illness. It's just a small favor. Doctors are kind-hearted. How can they stand idly by when they see a patient? Shopkeeper Qian sighed. Our young lady is also pitiful. She lost her mother when she was born, and she was not pregnant, so it was difficult to raise her. Our master took a lot of effort to keep the young lady alive until now. Shang Ruai nodded when she heard it. If it was as he said, then it would be really difficult for the little girl to survive. Shopkeeper Qian said leisurely, Fortunately, our madam has a legitimate sister. She served by her side when she was pregnant for the last period of time. Later, she died in an avalanche during childbirth. Poor little girl was born without a mother. Fortunately, there is Madam's sister to take care of her. She has been taking care of her since the day she was born. She regards my little girl as her own. Now little girl is very dependent on her. Our boss intends to marry her. If you have time, you must come to the wedding. Shang Ruai nodded. Of course. As they were talking, several people came to a courtyard. Across the courtyard wall, Shang Ruai smelled an extremely strong smell of Chinese medicine. At this time, a maid ran out in a panic and accidentally bumped into Lu Mingzhou. Master, she hurriedly said, Master, please go and see the little girl. What happened to her? He asked anxiously. The young lady has a high fever and has fainted. Lu Mingzhou's tall figure fell to the side for a moment, and the shopkeeper Qian quickly supported him. Boss. He remembered clearly that the doctor who came to see the patient last time had warned her several times before leaving, not to let her have a fever, otherwise her life would be in danger. Shang Ruai said in a deep voice, Let me go and take a look first. Lu Mingzhou turned around and saw Shang Ruai, then he reacted and nodded quickly. Please trouble you, little brother. He also wanted to go in and take a look. Just as he was about to step in, he found that his feet could not move. This. Shang Ruai said softly, You were too nervous just now. You'll be fine in a while. Shang Ruai followed the maid into the room, frowning. The windows in the room were blocked by thick curtains, and no light could get in. There was a little girl lying on the bed. Her face was pale, and she twitched from time to time. A young woman was sitting beside the couch. She wiped her tears and looked at the little bed and said, Kur, my poor child. After she finished speaking, she covered her mouth with a handkerchief, and tears fell like beads from a broken string. She looked back and saw someone coming in. She thought it was Lu Mingzhou, and she cried even louder, Kur, if anything happens to you, your aunt will not live. Shang Ruai walked to the bed and whispered, Please make way. Hearing the unfamiliar voice, the woman was stunned for a moment and looked back. Who are you? I was invited by the head of the Lu family to treat Miss Lu. When she heard that it was a doctor, the woman tightened her hand holding the handkerchief, stood up, and with tears on her face, she smiled and said, Did Brother Lu ask you to come? Brother Lu? Isn't she the sister of Lu Mingzhou's original wife? Shouldn't she call Lu Mingzhou brother-in-law? Why call him Brother Lu? Shang Ruai looked at her, nodded and said, That's right. After she finished speaking, she walked to the bedside, looked at the girl who was still in a coma, and put her hand on her pulse. Judging from the pulse, it was indeed a physical weakness caused by insufficiency in the. Just as she was about to let go of her hand, the last beat of the pulse made her heart skip a beat. This is. She glanced at the woman not far away from her and saw that she was looking at her nervously while she was taking the girl's pulse, her eyes slightly narrowed. It seems that her guess just now is not impossible. How is it? Lu Mingzhou walked in. Shang Ruai put the girl's hand down, frowning, and did not answer Lu Mingzhou's question, but asked in a cold voice, on weekdays, who is responsible for the lady's diet and daily life? The nanny standing next to her whispered, "It is Miss Qi-yin who is responsible. She said that she is worried about others interfering, so she has to feed the lady even a bite of cake herself." Qi-yin hurriedly stepped forward and asked, "Sir, is there anything that I have not taken good care of?" Before Shang Ruai could speak, she began to wipe her tears again. "I know I am clumsy, but I think that I am her aunt, and I can only feel at ease if I do it myself." Shang Ruai sneered. "Are you worried about others taking care of you? Or are you poisoning her under the name of taking care of her personally?"
What?
Poisoning? Lu Mingzhou's pupils shrank suddenly. He grabbed Qi Yin's arm and shouted angrily, "You poison Ke?" Qi Yin's face turned pale, and she quickly knelt on the ground. "Brother Lu, I didn't." Her tears fell like beads from a broken string. "Ke is my sister's child. How could I harm her?" Shang Ruai snorted coldly and looked at her with sarcasm in her eyes. "You think you are smart, but in fact, you are full of loopholes."
What?
Some of the toxins in Ke's body were brought from and the truly fatal toxins are accumulated little by little after birth. Qi Yin looked at Shang Ruai with disbelief in her eyes. "How is it possible?" "I didn't poison." She grabbed Lu Mingzhou's trouser leg and cried, "Brother Lu, can't you see how much I have loved Ke for so many years? I really treat her as my own child. How could I poison her? She must be talking nonsense. We have consulted so many doctors, and none of them said it was poisoning, which shows that her words are not credible." Lu Mingzhou also hesitated for a moment. He knew how good Qi Yin was to Ke, and Ke liked her especially. Otherwise, he would never have thought of marrying Qi Yin. He set his eyes on Shang Ruai again. It was well known that she cured the young master of the Qiao family in the street. Everyone knew how difficult the young master of the Qiao family's illness was to cure. Even the disease that Dr. Jiang couldn't cure, she cured it in just a moment. No one would question such superb medical skills. Shang Ruai snorted coldly and said, "Your brilliance lies in the fact that the poison you gave her after she was born was exactly the same as the poison she was infected with in the mothers. Because of this, everyone thinks that it was brought from the..." Qi Yin's pupils suddenly shrank. How could she know? "Qi Yin, did you really poison Ke?" Lu Mingzhou clenched his fists and said angrily, "How could you?" Shang Ruai sneered. "Not only did you poison Miss Ke, the reason why your elder sister had a difficult delivery was also your doing."
What?
Lu Mingzhou staggered and looked at Qi Yin, who was sitting on the ground in disbelief. "Where is the evidence? What evidence do you have to prove that I did it?" She looked at Shang Ruai stubbornly. "Sir, do you think you can convict me just by talking?"
Search.
Lu Mingzhou said angrily. "Go to her yard and search it for me." Qi Yin didn't have any fear on her face. She just looked at Shang Ruai sarcastically and said confidently, "If it wasn't me, I won't admit it no matter what. You can search. If you can find poison, I will swallow it directly." Hearing her say this, Shang Ruai frowned. It seemed that she was sure that they couldn't find anything in her yard. If the poison is not in the courtyard, then it must be on her. At this moment, she suddenly saw the position of her hands, and the words that the nanny had just said flashed through her mind, that every bite of cake must be fed to her mouth by hand.
Hands.
So that's it. At this moment, the servants came in and bowed. "Master, no poison was found in Miss Qi Yin's courtyard." Qi Yin looked at Lu Mingzhou, her eyes red, and she was about to cry. "Brother Lu, I didn't expect you to have no trust in me at all." Shang Ruai sneered. "Miss Qi is so good at acting. Why doesn't she go to the opera troupe?" Qi Yin's tears fell, and she said aggrievedly, "Have I offended you in any way? Why do you keep holding on to me?" Shang Ruai walked up, grabbed her arm, and raised it up. "Miss Qi's nails are so beautiful. I wonder what they are dyed with?" Qi Yin was stunned, and was surrounded by great fear.
She.
How did she know? Shang Ruai smiled. Hautuinia cordata is a very interesting poison. It is green when it touches the skin, but it is an extremely beautiful pink on the nails. After being taken by people, they will not notice it at first. If taken for a long time, the body will become weak and sickly. Over the years, the life force will be exhausted. After hearing her say this, Chi-in had nothing to hide. The righteous look just now disappeared, and she pulled her hand back with all her strength. I don't know what you were talking about. Seeing her like this, what else did Lu Mingzhou not understand? The veins on his head were exposed, and he slapped her in the face. Poisonous woman. Kur is your sister's child. How could you do such a thing? Sister? Chi-in smiled coldly. Does she treat me as her sister? She stood up, with a trace of blood at the corner of her mouth, which showed how much effort Lu Mingzhou had just put in. It should have been me who married you. She stole my marriage and my life. I am not living well, so why should she enjoy a happy life? All this should have been mine. Lu Mingzhou did not expect that the true face of Chi-in, who had always been gentle and lovely, would be so terrifying. And he actually gave his precious daughter to such a vicious woman to raise. Now Kur is dying, and it is all his fault. When he thought of this, he wished he could stab himself to death with a knife. When my sister was pregnant, I knew my chance had come. I picked the Hautuinia cordata myself and applied the medicine juice on my nails. I made the pastries for my sister every day. She was in pain as long as I was here. You all thought she was unwell because of pregnancy, but it was actually because of poisoning. Lu Mingzhou's figure shook, and the appearance of his wife at the end of her life flashed before his eyes, and he couldn't help but feel heartbroken. Qin looked at Shang Ruai and said angrily, "It's all your fault. If it weren't for you, no one would have found out that I was the one who poisoned her, and I would have married Brother Lu. After this little died, I would have had a child with Brother Lu. All of this was ruined by you. All ruined." She cast her eyes on the little person on the couch again. A trace of pain flashed across her eyes. Although she hated her sister, she had regretted it since Kur could speak and called her aunt. Is it really worth it to stain her hands with blood for a man? But the thing has been done, and it can't be stopped. I killed my sister, and now Kur is going to accompany her, so I can be regarded as reuniting them mother and daughter. Shang Ruai sneered, who said Kur is going to die.
What?
Chi-in was stunned. When she looked over carefully, she suddenly found that Kur's hands had a few more silver needles. Her originally flushed face had returned to normal, and her breathing had stabilized.
Impossible. Impossible.
She was obviously about to die. Chi-in fixed her eyes on Shang Ruai, her eyes furious. "It's you?" She pulled out the hairpin on her head and rushed toward Shang Ruai. Shang Ruai snorted coldly and kicked her hand. The hairpin flew out instantly and nailed on the roof. Just when everyone's attention was relaxed, she suddenly pulled out a dagger from her other hand and stabbed Kur, who was lying on the bed.
Kaya. Miss.
Chi-in's face was ferocious, and she shouted loudly, "Buried with me." Lu Mingzhou ran towards her, but the distance was too far and he was powerless. It's over, it's all over. Everyone thought her target was Shang Ruai, and no one thought that she really wanted to kill Kur. She knew that if she rushed directly to Kur, she would definitely be stopped, so she set her target on Shang Ruai. Seeing that the dagger was about to pierce Kur's body, suddenly a silver needle shot out. The force of the silver needle directly shook the dagger away. Hiss! How powerful is this force to have such an effect? Shang Ruai kicked out and directly kicked Chi-in to the ground. "You are quite courageous." Shang Ruai sneered. "How dare you play tricks in front of me?" Shang Ruai's kick was so powerful that Chi-in lay on the ground for a long time without getting up. Not to mention her, she could kick a sturdy man to the ground and make him unable to get up, let alone a mere Chi-in.
You.
The severe pain made her lips tremble unconsciously.
No need to say more nonsense.
When she looked at her, "You didn't even let go of a child of a few years old. Calling you a beast is an insult to the word." She set her eyes on Lu Mingzhou. "Master Lu, how do you want to deal with it?" Master Lu looked at Qi Yin coldly. I didn't want to find a stepmother for Kur, but she was clamoring for you to be her mother. If she knew that you were such a vicious person, she would be very sad. Qi Yin heard this, and a look of shock appeared in her eyes.
It's care. It's care. Ha ha ha.
She knelt on the ground, laughing non-stop, but the next moment, tears flowed down. I don't want Kur to be sad, so you should disappear from her sight forever. After he finished speaking, he waved his hand, and several servants came up and dragged her away. As for how he dealt with Qi Yin, Shang Ruai didn't care. She just wanted to cure Kur and let Lu Mingzhou transport the cows to Qingzhou so that she could bring the cows back to Xia village with good reason. Brother Ling, how's my daughter? He walked to the bedside, looked at Kur, whose complexion had returned to normal, and couldn't help but be happy. For so many years, he had never seen such a healthy color on Kur's face. It's just some fishy herbs, it's not difficult to cure. Shang Ruai took out a porcelain bottle and handed it to him. In another quarter of an hour, she will be able to wake up and take one pill in it every day. Lu Mingzhou was overjoyed and said quickly, Thank you, thank you. What about my cows? Lu Mingzhou nodded. Isn't it just 30 cows? I'll give you 300 or 3,000. Shang Ruai smiled and said, Master Lu, there is no need to be so polite. Lu Mingzhou laughed happily. You saved my daughter and helped me expose Qi Yin's true face. Otherwise, if I had been kept in the dark by her and married her into the mansion one day in the future, something might have happened. Even if Kur is lucky enough to escape this time, she might still torture her in the future. You are a benefactor to me, to Kur, and to the entire Lu family. You are too kind. Maybe it's fate. Lu Mingzhou nodded. You go back first and listen to my news. Those cattle will arrive in Qingzhou the day after tomorrow at the latest. Shang Ruai smiled. Thank you, Master Lu. After the greetings, Lu Mingzhou stayed by Kur's bed, and shopkeeper Qian personally sent her out. Master Ling is really not an ordinary person. He can actually see through her true face. Shopkeeper Qian smiled and said, I am really ashamed of myself. Really? Shang Ruai smiled. Shopkeeper Qian is too modest. I believe you know what kind of person Qi Yin is better than me. Shopkeeper Qian's pupils suddenly shrank. How did she know? What do you mean, young master? Since I entered the mansion, shopkeeper Qian has told me everything about Qi Yin. Shang Ruai smiled. If she was an insignificant person, you wouldn't say so much based on your personality. Shopkeeper Qian looked at Shang Ruai's face. A smile spread across the corners of his lips. I didn't expect that young masterling has such a clever mind. He cupped his hands and said in a low voice, Thanks to young masterling's care today, my Lu family will never forget such a great favor, and will repay you one day. Shang Ruai returned to the inn, and saw the three men were as anxious as ants on a hot pan. Seeing Shang Ruai's figure, they hurriedly went to greet her, Miss. Yue and Xuanmei walked forward quickly. Miss, where have you been? Let the servants find you easily. Nothing, just let those cows find a way to return to Tianshan. Shang Ruai looked at Ah Cheng, and a smile appeared on the corner of her lips. Ah Cheng, when you return to the He family, do you know what to say and what not to say? Ah Cheng bowed. Ah Cheng will remember what the master said. Shang Ruai nodded with satisfaction. Early the next morning, Shang Ruai was ready to go home. Just as she was about to leave the inn, a familiar figure appeared in front of her.
Ling Feng smilet flatter in glee. Master Ling.
He rubbed his hands. Are you going back to Tianshan? Before Shang Ruai could answer, Ah Cheng pushed him aside. What do you want to do? Ling Feng's steps seemed to stagger back, but in fact, each step was full of mysteries. Ah Cheng didn't see it, but Shang Ruai saw it clearly. This man is a master. But why is he hiding his incompetence? Stop. Shang Ruai said lightly, I really want to go back to Tianshan. I wonder Ling Feng. I wonder what brother Ling Feng wants to do? Ling Feng smiled and said, I wonder if I can follow you? Follow me? The merchant woman couldn't help laughing. Do you know who I am? Aren't you the genius Dr. Lingjun? He looked around and said softly, "Not only that, your gambling skills are so great." He said with a little excitement, "You are really the best gambler I have ever seen. Can I learn from you?" Shang Ruai looked at him with amusement. "You want to follow me? It's not impossible, but you have to tell me. What can you do?" She said leisurely, "If you want to learn a skill, you can. What do you want to exchange?" "I can do anything. I can be your bodyguard." Ah Chung sneered when he heard this. "With your small body, you still want to be our master's bodyguard? If there is real danger, I don't know whether the master will protect you, or you will protect the master. I can learn if I don't know." Ling Feng looked at Shang Ruai and said softly, "You will definitely need me." Shang Ruai smiled. "Okay, since you are so sure, I will give you a chance." "What chance?" "In a few days, a batch of dairy cows will enter Tianshan Qingzhou. If you can deliver the cows to Qingshi town intact, I will agree to let you follow." Shang Ruai smiled. "If you can't deliver them, I don't need to say more." She took out 10 taels of silver and handed it to him. "This is your money. Don't use it to gamble again. For casino veterans, your tricks are not enough." Ling Feng scratched his head embarrassedly. At this time, there was a sound of galloping horses in front. "I saw several men in black riding horses." Shang Ruai narrowed her eyes slightly, and a scalpel slipped into her hand. The next moment, the man in black suddenly drew out a long knife and chopped at Shang Ruai. Her body bent backwards, and the long knife was only half an inch away from the tip of her nose. Shang Ruai seized the opportunity and swung the scalpel out. It went straight into the man's shoulder blade.
Ah!
With a scream, the man fell off the horse. After just one encounter, he lost his fighting ability. The horse rushed out, and many things on the street stalls were knocked away. Seeing this, the two men in black behind couldn't help but slow down their pace. They looked at Shang Ruai with cold eyes. "I didn't expect this man to be so skilled." Shang Ruai held the scalpel in her hand, took a step forward, and said in a cold voice, "Who are you? Please tell me your name." "The one who wants you dead." As soon as the words fell, the two men pinched the horse's belly fiercely, drew out the long knife in their hands, and chopped at Shang Ruai's neck. Ah Chung flew forward, drew the soft sword at his waist, and stopped the two men. Ah Chung was specially hired by He Jingheng to be her bodyguard. Needless to say, his skills were excellent. How could the two men in black be his match? He kicked the two men off their horses in no time. At this time, a team of police officers came. The leader was pot-bellied and said in a cold voice, "How dare you gather a crowd to cause trouble on my territory? Arrest them all." "Sir, they're the ones causing trouble. It has nothing to do with us." Shang Ruai stepped forward and said in a deep voice, "They were riding on horses, and they didn't allow any explanation. Their moves were killing. Everyone witnessed it." As soon as she finished speaking, the police officer waved his hand and said in a cold voice, "No need to say these nonsense. If you have anything to say, tell me in detail when you get to the prison. Who knows if you have had a grudge before?" "Sir, I can testify that they were the ones who caused the trouble." At this time, a stall owner whose stall was overturned came out and said softly, "It has nothing to do with them." "Yes. Sir, I can testify too. It was those people wearing black clothes." "Sir, they covered their faces with black cloth in broad daylight. It seems that they are not good people." I thought that with so many people testifying, the officials would definitely not take them away. Who knew that the leading official waved his hand, and the yamen runners stood in front of those people with sticks, with fierce faces. Those people were so scared that they dared not say a word. Shang Ruai's face was slightly cold. It seemed that this group of people came for her. Whether she won or not today, she would win the case. The leading official waved his hand, and the yamen runners walked straight to them. As soon as they took out the rope, they heard a commotion in the crowd. Manager Qian came over with a group of people. He cupped his hands and said, "Lord Li, this young Master Lingjun is the mistress of our boss. Our boss heard that some blind people dared to assassinate her in broad daylight, so we were asked to come and see who is so bold as to do so." When the officer surnamed Li saw shopkeeper Qian, his face was full of smiles. "Shopkeeper Qian, I didn't expect that this young master is the guest of Master Lu. I'm so sorry. He had a smile on his face, but he had no intention of letting him go. He had received a death order today, and he must bring this man named Ling Jun back. Please trouble manager Qian to tell Master Lu that once the truth is revealed, if she is wrongly accused, I, Li, will personally go to his house to apologize. After he finished speaking, he bowed, walked around him, and said to the yamen runners behind him, "Tie up the man and take him away." Manager Qian did not expect Lord Li to act like this, and his face suddenly darkened. "Lord Li, I'm sure you know our boss's temper very well." "Oh, Manager Qian, it's not that I don't want to let him go." He leaned over to Qian's ear and whispered, "The superiors have issued a death order. Today, we must see the person alive or dead. If I don't bring the person back, I will be the unlucky one." He patted Qian's shoulder. "Today, even if it's you, Qian, or your boss, the Lu family, who comes to ask for the person, I can't hand it over." At this time, an elegant female voice came. "Lord Li is such a great official power. He doesn't even take the boss of Tianyan Casino seriously." Madame Qiao came slowly. When everyone saw that it was the Qiao family, they consciously made way for them. Madame Qiao, surrounded by maids and old women, walked to Shang Ruoi and leaned slightly. "Dr. Ling, we meet again." Madame Qiao. Hiss. Seeing Madame Qiao's actions, the onlookers took a breath of cold air. Who is the Qiao family? They control half of the land here. It is not an exaggeration to say that Shan Heng is a single-handed cover here. A person of such status actually bowed to her? What does this mean? Lord Li's heart trembled when he saw this. He could still argue with Tianyan Casino, but in front of the Qiao family, he was just an official, and they could crush him to death with just a flick of their little finger, not to mention Mrs. Qiao, who is now the head of the family. "Madame Qiao, what's the wind today that brings you here?" He smiled and nodded and said, "If you have anything to say, just send someone to tell me." "Why do you come here in person?" Mrs. Qiao shook her head. "Don't you know that Dr. Ling is my son's lifesaver? If you say it, he is the benefactor of our Qiao family. How can I not come here in person?" "The benefactor of the Qiao family?" Lord Li almost fainted. He didn't hesitate at all and quickly waved his hands at his men. "What are you still standing there for? Untie them."
But,
seeing his men were so tactless, he kicked them. "You fool! How dare you tie up anyone? You take them back to the government office without asking any questions. Who gives you the courage?" After saying that, he walked up to Shang Ruai in person with a flattering smile on his face. "Dr. Ling, I didn't know you were the benefactor of the Qiao family." Shang Ruai sneered and said, "My lord, did you let me go today because of my relationship with the Qiao family, or do you think I'm innocent?" "Of course I'm innocent," he said firmly. "You can cure young Master Qiao, and doctors are kind-hearted. How can you be the one who gathers people to cause trouble?" Shang Ruai smiled. Lord Li's attitude changes really quickly. "Thank you, Dr. Ling, for your praise." Shang Ruai rubbed her wrist. Seeing this, Lord Li kicked the yamen runner on the leg. "You are so rough. You hurt Dr. Ling's hand." Shang Ruai waved her hands, "No problem." She walked up to Manager Qian and Madame Qiao, bowed and said, "Thank you both for today. Haha. You are the distinguished guest of our host and the savior of my young lady." Manager Qian bowed and said, "If you have any problems in the future, just let us know. Our Lu family and Tianyan Casino will absolutely do our best to help." Madame Qiao stepped forward and whispered in her ear, "Miss Shang, do you have time to come to our house for a visit?" Shang Ruai curled the corners of her lips slightly. The Qiao family was indeed powerful. It was indeed extraordinary that they could find out her true identity in such a short time. "I'm very happy to do so." Shang Ruai smiled and said, "I've often heard people talking about the Qiao family since I came to Shanheng, but I never had the time to visit them. It's better to come today than to wait for a day. It just so happens that I have something I want to consult with Dr. Ling." Mrs. Qiao made a gesture of invitation, and a sedan chair was brought over. In the western regions, rich families mostly use horse-drawn carriages, and sedan chairs are definitely rare. When she arrived at the Qiao family, Mrs. Chiao personally led the way and took her to the main hall. The old man of the Chiao family had been waiting for a long time. Little miracle doctor. Old Master Chiao stroked his beard, his eyes shining. I didn't expect that the young lady, at such a young age, has such superb medical skills. It's really admirable. You are too kind. It's just that the young master of your family is ill, and I just happen to know the treatment method. Don't be modest. Even miracle Dr. Jiang couldn't cure it, but the young lady cured it so easily, which is enough to prove your excellence. Old Master Chiao hesitated for a long time and said in a deep voice, I asked the young lady to come here today, and I have another request.
You say.
Old Master Chiao looked at his daughter-in-law sitting on the right. Mrs. Chiao understood and said, To be honest, my husband has been suffering from a strange disease recently. He has been unconscious all day and week all over. From time to time, he also says some strange words, as if he was possessed by evil spirits. We invited a magician to exorcise the evil spirits, but there was no effect at all, and it became more and more serious. We also invited some doctors to see, but it didn't help. Hearing this, Shang Ruai said in a deep voice, Is your husband in the mansion? We need to feel the pulse to know the specific illness. Madame Chiao looked at Mr. Chiao, and when she saw him nod, she stood up. Miss Shang, please follow me. Looking at Shang Ruai's back as she left, Mr. Chiao nodded secretly. He really didn't know how lucky Jingheng was to marry such a good wife. Shang Ruai came to a courtyard in the backyard and saw all kinds of talisman papers hanging on the four corners of the courtyard wall, with various patterns painted on them with cinnabar and a pile of burnt incense ashes in the corner of the east wall. Madame Chiao saw her looking at those things, smiled and said, They are all scams. If we had known, we would not have invited those magicians. Walking into the room, Shang Ruai was startled by the scene in front of her. All the windows in the room were covered tightly with curtains, and no light could. There was a faint candlelight in the room. A man was lying on the bed, his brows were furrowed, his face was pale, his eyes were closed, and he looked lifeless. From a distance, he looked like a dead person. Why are the curtains like this? Shang Ruai stood at the door and said in a deep voice, Mrs. Chiao, have someone remove all the curtains and open the windows. But every time the sun shines in, he screams and says that he is dying of heat and that there is fire burning on him. It's like being possessed by evil spirits. That's why we found a magician. It doesn't matter, just do as I say. Shang Ruai took a few steps back. There is too much turbid air in the room. Even if you are not sick, you will get sick. After a while, the servants put away the curtains and opened the windows again. As soon as Shang Ruai stepped into the door, she heard the person on the bed shouting, It's burning, burning me to death. Put up the curtains quickly. I don't want to be exposed to the sun. But no one listened to his orders. He was furious, lifted the quilt, and got off the bed. Don't you understand what I'm saying? When Mrs. Chiao saw how skinny he was, her eyes instantly turned red. He was tearing his clothes desperately, trying to block the sunlight. Seeing his actions, Mrs. Chiao was heartbroken and wanted to ask the servants to put the curtains back. At this moment, a silver needle suddenly appeared in Wenxi's hand, and it shot directly into his neck. In an instant, his shouting stopped. Except for his eyes, he couldn't move anywhere on his body. Lift your master to the couch. Shang Ruai put her hand on his pulse, and something was wrong in her mind. How could this be called being possessed by evil spirits? This is clearly poisoning.
Poisoned?
Mrs. Chiao asked in surprise. How is this possible? This is a neurotoxic drug that can cause the body of the poisoned person to have various reactions that are contrary to the past in a short period of time. Shang Ruai said in a deep voice, and this poison will gradually invade the lungs. Before the poison is completely taken effect, ordinary doctors cannot diagnose it at all. However, once it is diagnosed, even the great immortals will find it difficult to cure it.
What?
Mrs. Chiao's breathing stagnated. Miss Shang, you must save him. Shang Ruai whispered, I will try my best. She took out a porcelain bottle from her sleeve and poured the spiritual spring water into his mouth. Not long after, The man who had just stared fell asleep slowly. After the spiritual spring water entered the body, the heat waves that were originally surging in the body suddenly calmed down. Mrs. Chiao couldn't help but marvel at this. She took out a silver needle and pierced it into his palm. Then she found a few more acupuncture points and gave each of them a needle. She gently moved one of the silver needles, and the other silver needles actually swayed with it. Not long after, his face suddenly turned into one of unbearable pain, as if something was about to come out of his body. "Miss Zhang, what happened to my husband?" As soon as he finished speaking, he heard a puff sound, and a mouthful of black blood spurted out of his mouth. "Husband!" Mrs. Chiao was about to rush over, but Zhang Ruai quickly pulled her back. "Don't go."
But
The black blood sprayed on the ground suddenly swelled up many white bubbles. "It's poisonous." Mrs. Chiao was stunned. It seemed that someone really poisoned him on purpose. "Madam Chiao, this poison is extremely overbearing. If you touch the poisonous blood, you will be poisoned," Zhang Ruai said coldly. "It seems that the person who poisoned it hates your husband." The handkerchief in Mrs. Chiao's hand was almost torn, and she ordered the servants to carry the head of the Chiao family to the bed. Soon, she calmed down and said to Zhang Ruai, "Thank you, Miss Zhang, today. Mrs. Chiao, you are too polite." She took out a porcelain bottle and handed it to her. "Just as a reward for Mrs. Chiao's rescue today, there are a few nourishing pills in it. Although the poison in Kayajaya's Wang has been resolved, the body's vitality is seriously damaged and needs to be properly recuperated." "Then thank you, Miss Zhang." Mrs. Chiao took the porcelain bottle and smiled and said, "If it weren't for Miss Zhang, our Chiao family would be in a disaster." Her words were not alarmist. Mr. Chiao had only one son, the head of the Chiao family who was poisoned now, and the head of the Chiao family had only one child, the young Master Chiao. If something happened to the two of them, it meant that the Chiao family would be extinct. Thinking about it this way, perhaps the matter of the young Master Chiao being poisoned was not as simple as it seemed on the surface. However, the person who could let this child carry the poison in the without being noticed was really very clever. At this moment, a servant came over. "Madam, the master asked you to go to the front hall with the genius doctor." At this time, Mr. Chiao was sitting in the main seat in the main hall, his face grim. "I didn't expect it was poisoning. Fortunately, Miss Zhang came to the rescue. Otherwise, my Chiao family would have suffered a catastrophe." He waved his hand, and several maids came up with a tray in each of their hands. "It's just a little gift. It's not a show of respect, but please don't despise it, Miss Zhang, and you must accept it. We will inevitably trouble you frequently in the future. If you don't accept it, how can we be embarrassed?" Zhang Ruai wanted to refuse, but after hearing what Mr. Chiao said, she smiled. "Since you said so, it would be a bit ungrateful if I didn't accept it." Mr. Chiao took out a land deed from his arms. "This is a farm of our Chiao family on the edge of Shanheng and bordering Tianshan. I thought you might need it." Zhang Ruai's eyes lit up when she heard this. She took the land deed and took a look at it, with a slight smile on her lips. "Thank you very much." After leaving the Chiao family, Zhang Ruai and her companions went straight to the border. Dr. Jiang and his daughter, who were standing not far away, saw this scene. "Dad," they went towards the border. "Could it be that they are from Tianshan?" Dr. Jiang shook his head. "If Tianshan has such a powerful person, would the prince still ask us to go and treat the disease?" Jiang thought about it and said, "Dad, are we still going to the Chiao family?" Dr. Jiang shook his head. "No. Madam Chiao already knows that I am here. If she has anything to ask for, I will come to her. Now, after a few days, she still hasn't come to find me. Why should I lower my status and go to their Chiao family?" Dr. Jiang turned and left. "Let us go back to Tianshan." As soon as Zhang Ruai entered the territory of Tianshan, she changed her clothes and came to Zhao Juni's mansion. She took out a herb from the space and said with a smile, "With this herb, your illness will be much better." Zhao Juni looked at the herb in her hand and said happily, "Take it quickly." Zhang Ruai handed the herb to him directly. "Just take it directly, my lord." "Take it directly?" Zhao Juni blinked and took the herb in his hand doubtfully. "Won't it be poisonous?" No, it's just a little bitter. Zhao Junyi thought about it and stuffed the herb into his mouth.
Ugh. Bitter.
This is too bitter. It's many times more bitter than gallbladder. My lord, please don't spit it out. I went through so much trouble to find only this one. Zhao Junyi held the medicine in his mouth, unable to swallow it, and dared not spit it out, and said vaguely, "It's too bitter." As the saying goes, good medicine tastes bitter. This herb is so bitter that it can cure your illness. Shang Ruai said sincerely. Seeing that she was like this, Zhao Junyi didn't seem to be lying, so he had to bite the bullet and swallow the herbs. At this time, a team of officials walked in. The man in the lead was the governor who had just been sent by the court, Zhang Wenyu. He had a tuft of goatee and said in a haughty tone, "Where is Zhao Junyi?" "I am Zhao Junyi, your humble servant." "I am honored to meet you, the governor." Zhao Junyi bowed and came to Zhang Wenyu. "I didn't know you were coming, and I am sorry for not welcoming you. Please forgive me." Zhang Wenyu looked around the main hall and sneered. "Your Majesty Zhao is really kind-hearted." He lost the prisoner and still had the leisure to be affectionate with the girl here. "I really admire him." When Zhao Junyi heard this, the sweat on his head fell instantly. "Your Majesty," Zhang misunderstood. "I have a strange disease. This woman happens to know medicine and is helping me treat it."
Oh.
"There is a female doctor in your place of exile?" Zhang Wenyu set his eyes on Shang Ruai. "Raise your head and let me see." Shang Ruai frowned slightly and raised her head slowly. Zhang Wenyu looked at her face for a long time and whispered, "I didn't expect you to be such a young female doctor." He changed the subject. "I have a chronic illness. When I was in the capital, I sought treatment from the imperial physician in the palace, but to no avail." Shang Ruai lowered her head and said in a low voice, "My medical skills are limited. I can treat some common diseases, but if even the imperial physician in the palace can't cure you, I'm afraid there's nothing I can do." Zhao Junyi interrupted her when he heard this. "You sinner, you really don't know what's good for you. Being able to treat the governor is a blessing you earned in your previous life. If you can really cure him, he might be happy and give you a reduction in sentence." Reduction in sentence? Shang Ruai didn't show it on her face, but she had already had an idea in her mind. She said lightly, "My lord, it's not that I don't know what's good for me, but in fact, your body is precious. I'm afraid that my poor medical skills will delay your illness." "No problem." Zhang Wenyu sat on the chair and stretched out his wrist. "Just take a good look." Shang Ruai heard him say this, smiled and walked forward, but did not feel his pulse, but asked him to open his mouth. "Why do you ask me to open my mouth?" Zhang Wenyu was a little unhappy. "Shouldn't I feel the pulse?" Shang Ruai smiled and said, "Medical skills emphasize observation, listening, questioning, and palpation, and feeling the pulse is just one of the ways to check." Zhang Wenyu raised his eyebrows and opened his mouth. After checking, Shang Ruai smiled. "My lord, this is not a chronic disease. It's just a cold spleen and stomach." "Humph, I think you are no different from those quacks. You can only say these high-sounding words. How can you prove that your spleen and stomach are cold? Your Majesty's tongue coating is white and greasy, and the teeth marks on the sides of the tongue are deep. This is the manifestation of spleen deficiency and dampness. I believe that Master Zhang often feels weak, has a poor appetite, and cannot sleep at night." She opened the medicine box, took out a porcelain bottle filled with spiritual spring water, and said softly, "Your Majesty, drink this and see if it can get better." Master Zhang took the porcelain bottle and frowned slightly. What effect can this small bottle have? But just now she described her symptoms clearly. Will it really work? Whether it works or not, you will know after trying it. Zhang Wenyu stroked his beard and smiled and said, "Since you are so confident, I will give it a try. If you can cure this chronic disease, I will reward you handsomely." "Thank you, Master Zhang." After the spiritual spring water went down, there was no reaction at first. Zhang Wenyu just frowned and felt a warm current appear in his body, and his body felt light.
This.
Zhang Wenyu looked at his hands and feet in surprise, not knowing whether it was his illusion. He felt that all the dirt in his body had been discharged from his body, and even his breathing became much lighter. "How do you feel, sir?" Zhang Ruai smiled and said, "Do you feel more comfortable?" Zhang Wenyu nodded. "It seems that you really have some ability." He looked her up and down for a long time, thinking in his heart, if she was not a criminal, perhaps she could be recommended to the palace to treat the ladies. "I said I would reward you. Do you want a reward?" Zhang Ruai smiled. "There is really one thing I hope to get your approval."
Tell me about it.
"I want to open a shop in the county town to earn some money to supplement my family income." "Open a shop in the county town?" "The shops in the county town are not cheap." Zhang Wenyu narrowed his eyes, looked at Zhang Ruai, and said in a low voice, "What's your name?" "I am Zhang Ruai." Zhang Wenyu's face changed slightly. He looked at her for a long time and nodded. "Okay." According to the law, as long as the exiled prisoners do not leave the place of exile and pay taxes on time and in full, no one cares what they do specifically. However, Zhang Ruai thinks it is better to report in advance for insurance. What if they find that their shops are profitable and become greedy in the future? "Thank you, sir. But you have to pay 10% of the profits of your shop as taxes." Zhang Ruai agreed readily, and then she needed to prepare all matters related to the shop. After solving the problems here, Zhang Ruai finally returned to the He mansion. "Young madam, you're back." The servant at the door came up and took the package from Yingshue's hand. The old lady and the lady received the news from Ah Cheng. "They heard that you are back and were so happy. The food in the house is ready, waiting for you to come back." As soon as they entered the main hall, Qin came up to them. "You are finally back." "Yes. Sister-in-law, you are finally back. I missed you so much." Hiyuni put her arm around her and said softly, "Sister-in-law, please don't throw me to my brother in the future. He is too fierce. He will punish me dozens of times for an incorrect movement. I am squatting in a horse stance and my legs are still shaking now." Zhang Ruai tapped her nose lightly and smiled. "If you ask me, you should ask your brother to teach you. You are lazy and slack in front of me all day. So much time has passed, and you haven't made as much progress as your brother taught you in a few days." "Sister-in-law." Hiyuni pouted and shook her arm. "Please." Just when Zhang Ruai was getting a headache from being pestered by her, He Jingheng's voice came over. "Your sister-in-law is already tired enough. You are jumping up and down like a monkey. What's the matter? You are becoming more and more unruly. If you continue to make trouble, I will do horse stance." Hiyuni was frightened by him and quickly let go of her hand and sat next to Qin. Zhang Ruai couldn't help laughing when she saw this. What on earth did He Jingheng do to scare the child like this? Seeing that her eyes were still on Hiyuni, He Jingheng's face darkened, and he said in a deep voice, "What's so good about that little girl Hiyuni?" Zhang Ruai came back to her senses and found that He Jingheng was looking at her intently. Zhang Ruai was stunned for a moment. Seeing her in a daze, He Jingheng curled the corners of his lips and patted her head. "Dinner is ready. Grandma has been waiting for you for a long time." Feeling the warmth coming from the top of her head, Zhang Ruai came back to her senses after a long time, blinked, and followed with a slightly red face. Yunqi in the distance shook his head. The prince even used the beauty trap. Yun Tian was also a little unbelievable. He had been with the prince for so many years, but he had never seen him like this. "I really don't know what's so good about this woman." Yunqi saw that he was unconvinced and curled his lips and said, "Just wait. You'd better not show this to the prince, otherwise His Highness will punish you severely." After dinner, Zhang Ruai picked out a few pieces of gold and silver jewelry given by Mr. Qiao and gave them to everyone in the He family. Lin smiled and said, "Ruai is so thoughtful to bring us gifts. I just happened to come across it and thought you would like it, so I bought it back." Zhang Ruai took a bite of the pastry on the table, and her eyes lit up. "Who made this pastry?" Qin smiled and said, "It was the chef who used to make snacks in the palace. I went to the town that day and accidentally saw him, so I brought him back." "The chef of the palace?" Zhang Ruai put the pastry into her mouth. As expected of the old master who served in the mansion before, the taste is indeed excellent. At this time, Song Fangji came over and said embarrassedly, "Sister-in-law, can you help me take my pulse?" Shang Ruai put her hand on her wrist, and after a while, she frowned slightly and asked softly, "Have you been feeling unwell recently?" She nodded. "Since the day before yesterday, I have always had trouble sleeping at night." Xiaoyao brought her medicine box. Shang Ruai took out the silver needles, pricked a few needles on the back of her hand, and said in a deep voice, "Did you eat anything indigestible today?" "Indigestible things?" Song Fangji shook her head. "There is no change in my daily diet. I just ate some pastries." Shang Ruai set her eyes on the pastries. She didn't think there was anything wrong with them today. "If you want to eat something in the future, let the servants come and let me have a look before you eat." "Okay." At night, He Jinghun was leaning on the couch reading a book. Shang Ruai thought about it and told him what she was going to do next. "Milk tea shop?" He Jinghun put the book on the couch. "What is that?" He knew what milk and tea were, but he didn't understand when they were combined together. "Is it for drinking?" Shang Ruai nodded. "Yes, it would be so happy if I could have a cup of warm milk tea in winter." He Jinghun smiled. "Although I don't know what the milk tea you are talking about is, it must be very good for you to recommend it so much." Hearing him say this, Shang Rui's smile on the corner of her lips became even bigger. He Jinghun seemed to be reading a book, but in fact his eyes were always following her. Seeing her happy, he was also very happy. On the second day, Shang Ruai went to the county town early in the morning. When Qianyang saw her coming in person, she greeted her warmly. "Why did you come here in person, sister?" "Of course I have a business to discuss with you, sister." Upon hearing this, Qianyang's eyes lit up. "Oh, sister likes to discuss business with you. Sister is simply the god of wealth. Ever since your strawberries entered my Taixiangju, my business has been getting better day by day." "What business is it today?" "Milk tea. Milk tea." Qianyang looked at Shang Ruai in confusion. "What is that?" "It's a drink." Shang Ruai smiled and said, "Mainly I want you to help me promote it." When Qianyang heard her say this, she immediately reacted. "Of course. It's just that I haven't bought a shop yet. Can you help me find out if there are any shops for sale nearby?" "There are shops, but the silver is not small." Qianyang looked at her and stretched out a finger. "A bigger shop here would probably charge 1,000 taels, while a smaller shop would charge 100 to several hundred taels, but this amount of money shouldn't be much for you. After all, selling strawberries every day is a good income." "Sister, can you take me to have a look?" Qianyang agreed happily. As soon as the two walked out of the door, they heard a noisy sound coming from not far away. "What's wrong with your clinic? It's obviously your medicine that has problems, and you still want to deny it?" An old woman put her hands on her hips and said angrily, "You still call it Jishidiang. I think it's a black-hearted clinic, selling moldy herbs, and almost killed my old partner. If you don't compensate me today, I will sue you to the government. Let the judge decide for me." The servant of the clinic stood at the door, said with a bitter face, "Auntie, we at Jishidiang have never sold moldy herbs. We are a century-old brand. How could we do such a thing?" "Humph. You say there is no, and so it is not? I don't want to tell you. Call out your boss." The old woman shouted loudly, "You sold moldy herbs, and you are just hiding in here like a turtle?" "Auntie, our boss has not returned from his medical consultation. Why don't you come in and wait? If it is a problem with our herbs, we at Jishidiang will never shirk our responsibility." The servant was polite, but the woman didn't care. She waved away the hand of the servant, pointed at his nose and said, "What are you doing? Do you want to drag me in to silence me? I will sit in front of this gate today and wait for your shopkeeper to come back and give me an explanation and compensate me. Otherwise, I will let everyone see what kind of black-hearted shop your Jishitang is." Qianyang stood beside Shang Ruai, sighed and said, "This is the second time this month." "What? I don't know who Jishitang has offended. People come to make trouble one after another. Although it is all a misunderstanding in the end, no shop can withstand such a toss." Shang Ruai nodded. "It seems that Jishitang has offended some big shot. Speaking of which, the shopkeeper of Jishitang has done me a favor. Sister, wait for me for a moment. I will go up and see if there is anything I can help." Qianyang walked towards the crowd. Shang Ruai saw this and also walked up. Just then, a carriage stopped and a man in a brown coat got out. Behind him, a servant was carrying a medicine box and walking through the crowd, looking exhausted. "Shopkeeper Xiao is here," someone in the crowd shouted. After hearing it, the woman walked straight to Shopkeeper Xiao, grabbed his collar and shouted loudly, "You black-hearted doctor! You sold moldy herbs to make money. I will beat you to death." Shopkeeper Xiao frowned, with a helpless look on his face. "Auntie, don't get excited. There is absolutely no problem with the herbs in our jishitang." Before he finished speaking, the woman shouted loudly, "What do you mean by no problem? So you mean I'm lying?" Qian Yang stepped forward and comforted her. "Annie, jishitang's medical products are very famous in our whole county."
You.
Before she finished speaking, the woman seemed to have found a vent and said to Qian Yang, "Don't pretend to be a good person here. Look at yourself, wearing red and green. Could it be that you came from a brothel? You don't look like a good person at first glance." Hearing her say this, the onlookers couldn't help but gasp. Who is Qian Yang? Taiangxiangju is the best in the whole county. As the shopkeeper of Taiangxiangju, Qian Yang is even more so. Now, this old woman is so rude. If she is really annoyed, this old woman will probably have no good results. Qian Yang's face darkened. At this time, Shang Ruai came out with a sneer. "I see that you are so aggressive. You don't look like a good person." The old woman only heard her voice, turned her head and said sternly, "Who are you? Who I am is not important. What is important is that you keep saying that Jishidiang sold you moldy herbs. Why don't you produce some evidence? Otherwise, you just talk back to people. How can this be justified?" "That's right, isn't this slander?" Most of the onlookers were patients of Jishidiang. They knew what kind of person Manager Xiao was, so they didn't believe that Jishidiang would do such a thing. When the woman heard what Shang Ruoi said, she put her hands on her hips and said, "I have already tested the herbs. How can I show you the evidence? Since I have already tested it, how do you know that the herbs are moldy?" Shang Ruai sneered. "Could it be that you found out before you boiled the herbs and you didn't think of taking the herbs at that time? Instead, you drank the herbs and came here to blackmail people. Do you think everyone is a fool?" When the old woman heard this, her face turned pale for a moment and soon returned to normal. She said angrily, "I don't know what you're talking about. Anyway, Jishidiang sold moldy herbs and almost someone died. If they don't pay me, I won't leave today." At this point, what would anyone with a discerning eye not know? This is clearly a blackmail. At this time, a thin man came in through the crowd. Seeing the old woman sitting on the ground and making a scene, his face flushed. He quickly walked to her side and said, "Mom, what are you doing? Didn't I tell you that Dad's illness has nothing to do with Jishidiang? Why are you still making trouble here?" The old woman glanced at him and said, "How can it have nothing to do with it? Your father fainted because he drank their medicine. You unfilial son, get out of here. We don't have a son like you. If it weren't for you, would your father have gotten sick?" The man heard her say this and whispered, "Mom, please come home with me and don't make trouble here." "Humph, you jinx, I've already told you to let your brother study alone. What about you? You rely on being the eldest son in the family and insist on studying. Your father got sick from exhaustion, and now he's poisoned. Are you happy?" At this time, a man in the crowd whispered, "Isn't this a disciple from Tianlu Academy? I seem to have seen him when I saw the teacher from Tianlu Academy giving lectures before." Students from Tianlu Academy will all be able to enter the court and become high officials. I didn't expect his mother to be such a scoundrel. The man almost cried out in anxiety when he heard this. "Mother, please get up quickly." "Who is your mother?" "I only gave birth to one son, Shenger. You are just your father brought back from outside. How can you call me that?" Tianlu Academy? Shang Ruari had a vague impression that most of the civil servants in the court came from Tianlu Academy, which was a place specifically for training censors for the court. Upon seeing this, shopkeeper Xiao sighed, took out 10 taels of silver from his and handed them to the woman. "Auntie, giving you this silver is not an admission that the medicinal materials in our clinic are moldy. I just don't want to ruin your son's future. From today on, You don't have to come to our clinic to get medicine. We look down on your family's illness." After saying that, he walked past her and entered the clinic. The old woman stood up from the ground with the silver, curled her lips and smiled. "Now, the tuition for the son is settled." The man clenched his fists and said in a deep voice, "Mother, how can you do such a deceitful thing? There is an old saying." Before he could finish, the woman interrupted him coldly. "I don't want to listen to your nonsense, this and that. Taking the silver home is the right thing to do. Why did you come back this time?" She held the silver tightly in her hand. "I tell you, don't even think about asking me for a penny. You have to figure out your tuition yourself. You are not my child. Why do you ask me for money?" She glared at the man, turned around and left, still arguing. "A also wants to study like my son. Dream. Without the tuition, I don't think you can go back to Tianlu Academy." The man's clenched fist slowly loosened, and his originally proud head slowly drooped. After looking at the plaque of the clinic, she bowed and then turned and left. Seeing the crowd dispersed, Qianyang took Shang Ruai's hand and said, "Sister, let's go to the shop." "Shopkeeper, the young master is here and wants to see you." A maid came over and whispered in her ear. Shang Ruai saw that her face was slightly stagnant and smiled and said, "Sister, if you have something to do, go and do it first. I will go around by myself first. If you are tired, come to my Tangxiangji to rest." "Thank you, sister." After Qianyang left, Shang Ruai looked for the figure of the man just now in the crowd. "Miss, he went to the east," Xiaoyao said softly. Shang Ruai looked at her with appreciation. She didn't expect her heart to be so delicate. Walking eastward, she saw him sitting in front of a stall and helping people write. There was also a banner next to the stall which read, "Writing letters for you, 2 cents per letter, good words." Shang Ruai couldn't help but sigh. She claimed that she had seen many calligraphy and paintings by famous masters, and his calligraphy was definitely the best in all aspects. At this time, an elderly man was sitting in front of the stall. He took the written letter and put 2 cents on the table. He hurriedly put it away. Looking at the few copper coins dripping from his purse, he couldn't help but sigh. If he continued like this, when would he be able to save enough for the tuition? At this moment, a silver ingot was placed on his stall. It was as much as 50 taels. This. He looked up in shock, looking at the veiled woman in front of him, and didn't say a word for a long time. Xiaoyao couldn't help laughing when she saw his stupid look. He came to his senses and hurriedly pushed the silver back. "Miss, this is too much silver. It only costs 2 cents to write a letter. I don't have that much silver and can't make the change." Shang Ruai smiled. "When did I say I would only write 1 letter?" The man was stunned for a moment. How long would it take to write a letter of 50 taels? Shang Ruai took out a piece of paper from her sleeve pocket and handed it to him. "Sir, just write these words 10,000 times, and the 50 taels of silver will be yours. As for the rest, it will be your hard-earned money." The man unfolded the note, which read, "Milk tea, pearl milk tea." Just these 6 words? Shang Ruai nodded. Exactly. He looked up at Shang Ruai, recognized her as one of the people who had just watched, and instantly understood her intention. He thought for a moment and returned the silver. "Thank you for your kindness, young lady, but the ancient said, 'A gentleman loves money, but gets it in a proper way.' I can't take advantage of others like this. This is definitely not a gentleman's behavior." Seeing his literary appearance, Shang Ruai couldn't help laughing. "Since you are a gentleman, you should know that those who achieve great things are not particular about trivial matters. Besides, I really need your help. I don't want you to take this silver for nothing." "That's right. My young lady knows that you are in deep trouble. She just wants to help you. She doesn't want an upright and talented person to be buried because of money." Xiaorao smiled and said, "Miss, I think he has really become stupid because of reading. If you become successful one day, don't forget your original intention today." Shang Ruai put the silver back on the table. 3 days later, I will let the servants come here to get 10,000 notes. Remember to keep your promise." The man cupped his hands and made a great salute to Shang Ruai. "I am Li Yun, your student." Thank you for your kindness, young lady. One day, I will repay you, as the ancient said. Don't talk. Shang Ruai interrupted him hurriedly. Are all scholars in the world like this, coming and going? It's so confusing to hear. Just remember to keep your promise. Li Tian nodded. Don't worry, young lady. Shang Ruai didn't know that everything she had just done was seen by Yunqi and Yuntian. Yuntian said angrily, Did you see that? She is a fickle woman. It's a pity that the master is sincere to her, but she doesn't deserve it. What nonsense are you talking about? Which eye of yours saw that the crown prince's consort is fickle? Yunqi slapped him on the head. Don't talk nonsense in front of his highness, or he will slap you to death. Didn't you see that the scholar's eyes were almost falling on her? He is a student of Tianlu Academy. Don't you know what Tianlu Academy means to Tianshan? Yunqi whispered. The crown prince's consort has always been smart and cautious. She must have her reasons for doing this. Yuntian said in disbelief. Have you been drugged? Who drugged you? A low voice sounded behind the two. Yunqi and the others were startled. The crown prince. He Jingheng walked over, and the familiar figure disappeared at the corner of the street. He turned around and looked at the two of them. What's going on? No, nothing. Yunqi smiled. Seeing this, Yuntian whispered, It's the crown prince's consort. What's wrong with her? He Jingheng thought of Shang Ruai's back as she left just now, and a dark light flashed in his eyes. The crown prince's consort just gave a scholar 50 taels of silver. Yuntian said hurriedly. She even smiled at him. The scholar was obviously bewitched. Yunqi wanted to slap him down from the second floor. Your Highness, it's not like that. Yunqi smiled and said, The crown prince's consort asked him to help write something, and the 50 taels were the payment, and the scholar was from Tianlu Academy. Tianlu Academy? He Jingheng frowned. She knew that the scholar was from Tianlu Academy? It seems so. Yunqi said softly. He Jingheng smiled. Did this woman do it by accident, or did she really know something? Jingheng. Su Zimo came over in a hurry. There's news over there. Your Majesty, we found it. Shang Ruoi and Xiaoyao walked to the street next to Tangxiangju. Miss, look, the shop over there seems to be for sale. Xiaoyao pointed to a shop and said softly. The plaque on the shop had not been taken down yet, and it read Jingyi Tea House. There. It was exactly what she needed. Shang Ruoi walked up and stopped a servant who was moving things out. Is this tea house for sale? The servant looked at her a few times. Do you want to buy it? Xiaoyao walked up and said. Is your manager here? At this time, a little old man came out. Yes, I am the shopkeeper of the shop. You the shopkeeper you. Why don't you run the shop? Shang Ruai looked at the street. This was obviously the most bustling and prosperous area. It was unlikely that the business was not good. My son has become successful and found a job in the capital. Now he wants to take us to the capital. I'm afraid we will never come back. I thought there is no use for the shop, so I just sold it. He looked at Shang Ruai. Miss, do you want to buy it? If the price is right, I really want to buy it. I wonder how much you want for the shop. You really asked the right person for my shop. General, you led them into the house. Shang Ruai looked at the layout of the tea house and liked it very much. Like Tangxiangju, it has 3 floors in total, with private rooms on the 2nd and 3rd floors. When you enter the shop, you can smell the fragrance of tea, which is refreshing. How much silver does this shop cost? Yuta rubbed his hands and smiled. This shop in this county is about 1,500 taels. 1,500 taels, Shang Ruai calculated in her heart. In fact, this price is reasonable, but who doesn't want to buy it cheaper? Shopkeeper you, the day you go to the capital must have been set. If the price is right, I can pay you in cash today. Although 1,500 taels is not higher than the market price, I'm afraid there are not many people who can give you some cash directly. Shang Ruai smiled. Why don't you give me a discount and give me the remaining tea in the shop, okay? This.
Yuta frowned.
Although there was not much tea in the shop, there were about 100 taels. If he gave her a discount again, the loss would be too much. He thought about it. How much silver do you want to pay? Shang Ruai stretched out her index finger. 1,000 taels. 1,000 taels? Yuta shook his head like a rattle. For this shop, if it is less than 1,200 taels, there is no need to negotiate. In just one round, his bottom price was revealed. 1,200 taels, plus the tea in the shop, how about it? Can you give the silver now? Of course. Shang Ruai took out the silver note from her and handed it to him. Yuta confirmed that it was correct and wrote the document immediately. Miss, my shop is very popular. Tianquan's tea has always been expensive, especially the precious tea, which is even more rare, but even if you have silver, you may not be able to buy it. However, the merchant who supplies my shop is from Northern Qi. Their tea is not only cheap, but also of high quality. If I hadn't stopped running the business, I would definitely not have told you about this opportunity. As the two were talking, a bearded man walked in. Yuta, what's wrong with you? He looked at the half-moved shop in shock. Closed down? I'm going to the capital to enjoy my life, and I've sold this shop to this girl. The man fixed his eyes on Shang Rui's face and said dejectedly, I also specially brought a cart of tea to sell to you. Shang Rui heard this, stepped forward and said, I'm taking over the tea shop now, and I also want to do business in this area. You can sell me your tea. Really? The man looked at Shang Rui in surprise. How much silver do you want for this cart of tea? This cart of all top-quality tea, 2,000 taels of silver. When she opened a few boxes, and it was indeed, as he said, all of them were top quality. As soon as he opened the box a little, the fragrance penetrated into his nose. I wonder how long you will stay here? Shang Rui pointed around and said, You can see that I don't have the space to store so much tea. Probably about 3 days. 3 days. Shang Rui thought about it and realized that it would take 3 days to clean up the place. Suddenly, she thought of someone who might be able to help her. Qian Yang was slightly shocked when she saw her carrying a carriage of tea. You know, tea is usually bought in 2 cans at the post station. Where has she ever seen tea bought by the cart? But thinking of what Shang Rui said she was going to make, called milk tea, maybe it was related to tea. Sister, are you going to leave so much tea with me? Qian Yang said with a smile. Tea is so precious. Are you at ease leaving it at that? Shang Rui picked up a box of tea and put it in her hand. For you. Give it? For me? Shang Rui nodded. In the future, I will need my sister's care in this county. In the private room upstairs, Su Zimo watched the scene and joked, Jingheng, your wife is really generous. He Jingheng picked up the teacup and took a sip, as long as she is happy. TSK. Su Zimo really wanted to slap himself in the face. He was asking for trouble. He could see that He Jingheng really regarded Shang Rui as the apple of his eye. He admitted that this woman was indeed different from other women, but for a man like He Jingheng to care about her so much, she must have other extraordinary qualities. Uncle's body is already at the end of its strength. You should make plans early. Su Zimo said in a deep voice. Judging from the wounds on Uncle's body, he must have suffered a lot of torture. I don't know what the people who kidnapped Uncle had in mind, torturing him to the point of almost dying, and then letting him go. He Jingheng's face was as dark as ink, and his eyes were dim. I have asked the doctors to check on Uncle's health, and it is not optimistic. Su Zimo said in a deep voice. Right now he is being kept alive by the medicine we got from Divine Dr. Jiang. If Divine Dr. Jiang were to treat him, there might be a glimmer of hope, but we have already offended him severely because you refused to marry his daughter. I am afraid it will not work if we go back to beg him now. He Jingheng said in a deep voice. There is no need to mention Divine Dr. Jiang. Then what should we do about Uncle? Su Zimo said. I see that the people who kidnapped Uncle are sure that we can't save him, so they deliberately let Uncle go with a breath, so that you will suffer for not being able to save him. Su Zimo clicked his tongue twice. These people are really vicious. But then again, how many enemies has your Dingwa Palace made outside? Why does this young master feel like a knife is hanging over his head? He Jingheng glanced at him. The enemies of Prince Ding's palace are all over the world. You have to think carefully whether you want to continue following this prince. You have to follow me anyway. At this moment, there was a knock on the door of the room. Master, it's me.
Come in.
Qian Yang walked in with a box, looked at He Jingheng, and said with a smile, Master, I dare not accept the mistress's tea, and this tea is of extremely high quality. Qian Yang opened the box, and the fragrance of tea wafted out. This tea is no worse than the tea in the capital. Where did you, the crown prince's consort, collect it from? Qian Yang took out a note from her. Master, the illnesses of the head of the Qiao family and the young master were cured by a miracle doctor named Ling Jun. Ling Jun? Yes, it is said that this miracle doctor Ling Jun is a very young boy. She left Shanheng and came to Tianshan some time ago, but her whereabouts could no longer be found after entering Tianshan. Qian Yang said softly. It should be the Qiao family who helped her to clean up the mess. She suddenly appeared in Shanheng and made a name for herself some time ago, and recently disappeared at the border of Tianshan. How come the time period coincided completely with that crown prince's consort who had no idea how capable she was? Suddenly, he remembered the coral bracelet that Shang Rui gave to Hyuni. Wasn't that the Qiao family's private collection? He Jingheng smiled. It seemed that what she said to him at the beginning, that she was unrivaled in medical skills, was not nonsense. He suddenly laughed, which scared Su Zimo. What are you laughing at? Maybe I know someone who can heal my father's injury. Shang Rui returned to the He family and took the drawn blueprint to find Mr. Xia. Is this a glass bottle? Mr. Xia looked at the blueprint, and his eyes lit up. Glass bottles are my specialty. Just tell me, how many do you want? I can make them for you in a few days. 5,000. Just 5,000. Mr. Xia's words were already on his lips, but he stopped suddenly. How much? Just tell me nicely. 5,000. This is just the first batch. Shang Rui smiled and said, not much. Mr. Xia couldn't help but twitching the corners of his lips. That's 5,000. Even if he worked day and night, it would take him a month. No, 5,000. I'm afraid I'll give you my life. Old Xia waved his hands hurriedly. I can only give you 105 days. If I find someone to help you, can you get 505 days? Old Xia didn't say anything, just stared at her. Shang Rui knew he had a way. He took out a basket from behind, which contained 2 bunches of grapes and a few peaches. The fruits in her space have begun to mature on a large scale. In addition to strawberries and grapes, there are also watermelons, passion fruits, blueberries, lemons, tomatoes, and peaches. What is this? Old Xia had smelled the fragrance a long time ago, but he didn't ask aloud. In fact, he had already started drooling. These are the fruits I grew, grapes and peaches, all washed. Please try them. Old Xia pretended to be reserved and picked 2 grapes and put them in his mouth. The sweet fragrance instantly swept his taste buds. Originally, he wanted to put them in a bag and taste them, but the taste was so tempting that he couldn't stop eating them. Shang Rui saw this and said with a smile, Then I will send someone to pick it up in 5 days. Old Xia nodded and continued to enjoy the delicious food. Shang Rui came to the greenhouse, and Erju walked forward happily. Boss, look, the wheat and corn are ripe. I didn't expect to see such a bumper harvest in this exile place. He wiped the sweat from his head. The temperature in the greenhouse was high, but the joy on his face was beyond words. Harvest. Yes. He led the workers in the greenhouse to wave sickles and start harvesting. She looked back at the strawberries planted on the other side and frowned. It seems that there are fewer strawberry seedlings. There are more workers in the He family, and they had harvested them all in the evening of the next day. Everyone looked at the corn and wheat piled up like a mountain, and they couldn't help but be shocked. Is this really grown in such a barren place? Is the yield of just one greenhouse really so high? If she planted all the land she had enclosed, how much would the harvest be? How could they know that this land was improved by her with spiritual spring water, and the water used for daily irrigation was also mixed with spiritual spring water, so the crops grown were naturally different? In the past, the wheat grown here was ripe, but its grains were shriveled. Not only was the quality poor, but very little could be used to grind flour. However, the grains in front of them were large and full. They didn't know if it was their illusion, but they seemed to be able to smell the fragrance of grain. Moreover, the corn was as long as an adult man's forearm. They had never seen it before, and they didn't dare to dream of it. Moreover, the corn kernels must be fresh, tender, juicy, and very sweet. Shang Rui walked up to the crowd and said with a smile, "Everyone has worked hard during this period. 3 caddies of wheat and 5 caddies of corn per person are my rewards for everyone."
What?
There is such a good thing. They can actually share the food.
Thank you, boss.
Thank you, boss. The people working in the He family were once again grateful for their wise choice. They had thought that life would be very difficult in the place of exile, but now they could not even think of having enough food and clothes. Zhao Junyi also got the news, and when he rushed over, Shang Ruai was ordering people to store the food in the warehouse.
Wait.
Zhao Junyi knew that Shang Ruai had built a greenhouse, but he had never thought that she would really grow food. After all, he had been in this exile for so long, and he had never seen a good harvest in a year. Now, looking at the piles of food, he said in disbelief, "You planted all these? It has only been 2 months. How could they grow them? In such cold weather, on such barren land?" Shang Ruai smiled and said, "Your Excellency doesn't know that the temperature in the greenhouse is extremely suitable for crop growth. Even in the cold winter, they can grow crops. Of course, the greenhouse is only one of the reasons, and the most important is the spiritual spring water in her space. This is planted in the greenhouse, and the corn and rice in her space have been harvested many times. The spiritual spring water has the effect of accelerating the growth and ripening of food crops." Shang Ruai is not afraid that the greenhouse will be learned by others. After all, it is impossible to grow food without the soil improved by the spiritual spring. Zhao Junyi looked at the food with envy. Winter is coming soon. Where can he get so much fresh corn? If these things were sold to the rich families in the county, they would definitely be sold at a high price. "You have to hand these things over." He waved his hand, and a team of Yamen runners came forward and snatched back the things that were distributed to the workers. How could they be willing to take away the food that they had just received and had not even warmed up yet? Food in winter is much more expensive than other times. If they save some of this food, they may be able to survive this winter. Those couples who work together in the He family can get 2 portions. So much food was taken away, and they complained for a while. "What are you doing?" Zhao Junyi shouted loudly. "Are you going to rebel?" After saying that, he took out the whip on his waist and swung it hard. The loud noise made them stop. "I'm telling you, if you keep interfering with official business, I'll beat you." He waved his hand. "Take all the grain away." Upon hearing that, Shang Ruai stepped forward and said in a cold voice, "Wait." Zhao Junyi glanced at her. "Why? Do you have any objection to what I said? If you want to confiscate the grain I grow, it's not impossible, but please show me the document." "Document? What document?" "Of course, it's the tax collection document of the government office. If it's not for collecting taxes, what right do you have to take away the grain I grow?" Shang Ruai curled the corners of her lips and sneered. "Sir Zhao, are you trying to take the grain for yourself?" Zhao Junyi was stunned. He didn't expect that she would actually say what she was thinking in public. This was undoubtedly a slap in the face in front of so many people, making him lose face. "How dare you?" Zhao Junyi shouted loudly. "How dare you slander me? Since you say it is slander, then please hand over the documents to me. As long as there are documents from the government office and reasonable taxes, I will pay them." Zhao Junyi's face darkened when he heard it. "Don't think that you can show off in front of me just because you can cure a few diseases. You are still young. So, what if you don't have documents? To tell you the truth, in this place, I am the king. It is your blessing in your previous life that you like your food. Take it away."
"Heh."
Shang Ruai sneered. "It seems that Lord Zhao has recovered." Zhao Junyi glanced at her. "What else?" "The itching on his body has not occurred in the past few days, so it must have recovered." "Really? My lord is really confident." Shang Ruai's voice had just fallen, and Zhao Junyi suddenly felt a pain in his abdomen, and sweat broke out on his forehead in an instant. After a while, the pain slowly dissipated. He stood up straight, staring at Shang Ruai fiercely. What did you do to me?" "It's unfair, sir." Shang Ruai sneered. "I'm so far away from you. What can I do?" "Don't play tricks on me." Zhao Junyi stared at her. In this exile land, No one dares to compete with me. If you fall into my hands, I have plenty of ways to make you want to live but not die. Sir Zhao has such great power. A man's voice came. How come I don't know that this exile land is controlled by Sir Zhao? Zhang Wenyu led a group of officers and soldiers in. Zhao Junyi didn't expect Zhang Wenyu to come here. His back stiffened, and his back was soaked with sweat. I don't know how much he heard. Sir Zhang. Zhao Junyi bowed hurriedly and saluted. I didn't know Sir Zhang was coming. I was dealing with the troublemakers and villains. I'm sorry for not coming to greet you. Please forgive me. Troublemakers and villains? Zhang Wenyu looked around. Where is the troublemaker that Sir Zhang is talking about? Why didn't I see him? Zhao Junyi pointed at Shang Ruai and said, It's her. Shang Ruai stepped forward and saluted. Sir Zhang, I want to sue Sir Zhao for slandering me. Zhang Wenyu stroked his goatee and looked at Zhao Junyi unkindly. This idiot didn't even look at who was standing behind Shang Ruai. How dare he come here to cause trouble? If it was anyone else in the He family, he would not want to care too much, but Shang Ruai was different. He was someone that His Royal Highness the Crown Prince personally asked him to take care of. He even dared to mess with the woman protected by His Royal Highness the Crown Prince. He was looking for death. He hadn't lived enough. Master Zhao, since you said she is a villain, do you have any evidence? Zhao Junyi glared at Shang Ruai hatefully. She poisoned me. Oh. Zhang Wenyu looked at Shang Ruai. Is what Master Zhao said true? Shang Ruai shook her head. Heaven and earth are my witnesses. I have not been close to Master Zhao today. How can you say that you poison me? Everyone is a witness. If you don't believe me, you only need to ask her, or ask a doctor to come and see if Master Zhao has any symptoms of poisoning. She knew best that she had poisoned me herself, and no one else could have discovered it except her. Not to mention the people working in the He family, even the Yamen runners who came with Zhao Junyi nodded. She really didn't lie. Master Zhang. Master Zhao heard from somewhere that the crops in the greenhouse of the common people were plentiful, so he brought a group of Yamen runners to rob them, saying that they wanted to confiscate them all, and that they were following orders from above to take away everything, regardless of whether there were documents or not. Shang Ruai wiped the non-existent tears from her eyes with a handkerchief. Master Zhao is obviously bullying us. Seeing her like this, Zhang Wenyu secretly cursed Zhao Junyi, saying that he was a fool who was more likely to cause trouble than to accomplish anything. At this moment, He Jingheng came over. He stood beside Shang Ruai, his eyes sharp. What's wrong? When Zhang Wenyu saw He Jingheng, he subconsciously bowed. It's not his fault that he is weak-willed. It's really a conditioned reflex caused by He Jingheng's discipline. He knew the methods of this prince very well. Even though he is now exiled here, imprisoned, and his body is broken, it is difficult to conceal his aura like a sharp blade. Also, how can a person who is exiled and makes the prince very afraid be an ordinary person? The prince. The son of Prince turned around and swallowed it. He walked forward with a smile on his face that surprised Shang Ruai. Misunderstanding. All misunderstanding. Zhang Wenyu said with a smile, I am not strict in my rule. I will take the people down and deal with them properly. He Jingheng smiled. Sir Zhang, according to the laws of Tianshan, what is the crime of embezzling food and property? Deserve to be killed. After saying these two words, Zhang Wenyu smiled bitterly. When Zhao Junyi heard this, sweat broke out on his forehead in an instant. What is the crime of falsely conveying the imperial edict? Deserve to be killed. Zhao Junyi lowered his back a few more degrees. What crime should be committed for robbing people of their property and attempting to take it for oneself? He deserves to be killed. Zhao Junyi was so scared that he knelt on the ground, his hands shaking uncontrollably. Sir, how do you think we should deal with him for multiple crimes? He Jingheng's voice seemed to come from, with an icy murderous aura. Zhang Wenyu couldn't stop sweating on his forehead. He deserves to be killed. Hearing this, Zhao Junyi crawled to Zhang Wenyu's side. My lord, it's not like that. Listen to me. Zhang Wenyu glanced at him and said to the people behind him, What are you doing? Why don't you take him away? If he doesn't drag it on, he will die. When Zhang Wenyu returned to the mansion, Zhao Junyi walked up to him, bending over. Sir. Zhang Wenyu looked at him with a sullen face and threw the book on the table in his face. You still have the nerve to come in front of me. I wish I could chop you up right now. If it weren't for him, would he have lost such a big face? Now, everyone in the exile place knows that he is afraid of He Jingheng, who will take him seriously. Sir, the He family is just prisoners exiled here by the emperor. What is there to be afraid of? Zhao Junyi whispered. In this remote place, if a prisoner dies randomly, who will investigate it? He took out a jade disc from his arms. Look, sir, this is the best white jade. It feels warm to the touch and is very good for the body. It is my humble respect to you. Zhang Wenyu picked up the teacup on the table and smashed it directly on his head, blood flowing down his face.
Idiot.
What kind of is in your head? Why didn't I have the heart to kill you just now? Just a prisoner? How could he say that? Are the He family ordinary prisoners? If they were really so easy to kill, the emperor would not just exile them. Instead, he would directly send this family to the guillotine. Zhao Junyi didn't know what he said wrong and quickly knelt on the ground. Sir, please calm down.
I don't know what I said wrong.
Don't make things difficult for the He family in the future. This official kindly reminds you, don't be ungrateful. If there is a next time, I'm afraid you won't even know how you died. Go back and reflect on your mistakes. Zhang Wenyu's words startled Zhao Junyi. The He family has become what it is now. What is Sir Zhang afraid of? At night, a carrier pigeon appeared in the patrol mansion. The servant handed the note to Zhang Wenyu. Sir, His Highness asked us to find the ring as soon as possible. Zhang Wenyu put down the silver spoon for feeding the birds and whispered, once the ring from Prince Ding's mansion was lost, everyone in the world wanted to find it. Now countless eyes are staring at it, fearing that it would be snatched away by others. No wonder His Highness is anxious. Sir, His Highness sent you here mainly to find the ring. But we have investigated the He family and found no trace of the ring. Could it be that it was really stolen by He Jinghe? Zhang Wenyu frowned and said in a deep voice, He Jinghe ran away and disappeared, and the ring disappeared with him. Isn't it a bit too coincidental? What you mean, is this what He Jinghe did on purpose? Just to hide the ring? How could such a powerful person like He Jinghe let that waste He Jinghe steal such an important thing? This trick is really true and false, real and fake, and it's really well used. Zhang Wenyu snorted coldly, but the old ones are the wisest. I have seen through his scheme clearly. Your Excellency is still one step ahead. But where did He Jinghe go? No one knows whether he is alive or dead. In the capital, Lanqing Palace, Bishi walked in hurriedly. Your Majesty, it's not good. She was about to speak when concubine Zhao gave her a wink, and the next second, He Lingxing walked over. Your face looks so bad, what happened? He Lingxing said with a smile. Bishi saluted hurriedly. Your Highness, the new servant broke your favorite cup, and I have come to report to your Majesty. He is just a servant, just kill him directly. Why do you come to ask your mother for instructions? He Lingxing sat down and said in a cold voice, Aunt Bishi has been doing a better job recently. I wish you all the best. Bishi said in panic.
Okay, Sheng'er.
Concubine Zhao came over. Political affairs are busy, you'd better go quickly. The beside your father has come to see you. Mother, have a good rest, I'll take my leave. When He Lingxing passed by Bishi, she trembled subconsciously. The prince's eyes looked at her more fiercely recently. Seeing He Lingxing leave, concubine Zhao whispered, What happened? Your Majesty, it's bad. He Jinghe ran away.
What?
Concubine Zhao's face turned pale, and she said angrily, What are those servants doing? They can't even keep an eye on one person. Your Majesty, what should we do? Now only He Jinghe knows where the ring is hidden. A bunch of trash.
Idiot.
What else can we do? Go find it. Concubine Zhao said coldly. If He Jinghe can't find it, I will kill them all to vent my anger. In the corner, a figure turned and left. Back in the East Palace, a little came forward and whispered a few words beside him.
Go down.
He Lingxing clenched his fists. He didn't expect it was his mother. He Jinghe was actually taken away by her mother's people. Originally, they all speculated that the lost ring was a play performed by He Jingheng and others, but they didn't expect it to be his mother's handiwork. He squinted his eyes. It seemed that his mother had done a lot of things behind his back over the years. A figure passed by in front of him. Presumably, all these things were done by her. At night, a figure flashed in Lanqing Palace. Bishi had just washed and prepared to go to bed. Suddenly, she was knocked. When she opened her eyes, she saw the person standing by the window in a crimson-purple robe. Crimson-purple? The prince. Why is the prince here? She looked around. This was a side hall of the East Palace. Why was she here? Awake? Aunt Bishi. Bishi was shocked. Your Highness, what are you doing? Seeing her panic-stricken, He Lingxing said coldly, Do you know why I asked you to come here today, Aunt Bishi? I dare not speculate on your Highness's thoughts at will. Bishi lowered her head and said softly, Aunt Bishi is worthy of being Mother's most capable servant. Everything Mother has done over the years was done by Aunt. He Lingxing sneered, and is really capable. Your servant does not understand what your Highness means. You are so bold that you even dare to touch the army's thoughts. He Lingxing said angrily, Do you know that if our father knew about it, it would be a heinous crime of killing all 9 generations of your family, and no one in Mother's family would survive. When Bishi heard him say this, she knew that He Jinghe's affairs had been exposed. She knelt on the ground and hurriedly explained, Your Highness, the Queen did this for you. She just hopes that your position as the Crown Prince can be more stable. He Lingxing sneered. Was it for him or for his mother herself? His mother knew it best. Aunt Bishi, my mother has lived in the harem for a long time, and she doesn't know how many things are going. To be safe, all the matters of my mother must be reported to me before I do anything. Do you understand? Bishi was stunned. For so many years, the prince had never cared about the affairs of Lanqing Palace. Why did he suddenly start to care about it today?
But
before she could finish, she was interrupted by He Lingxing's cold voice. Didn't you understand what I said? The aura of the superior made Bishi dare not breathe. I understand. If you have any questions, just find Xiao Detzi in Lanqing Palace. Xiao Detzi? That concubine Zhao recently promoted had been the gatekeeper of Lanqing Palace. It turned out that there were people of His Royal Highness the Crown Prince in Lanqing Palace. He Jinghe ran out of the remote courtyard and ran straight into the mountains. He hid in a remote cave and looked at the swaying branches outside with hatred. Winter was about to come, and gusts of cold wind blew in. He couldn't help but shiver. Ah, cut! He rubbed his arms and cursed in a low voice. You dare to lie to me. At this time, there was a noise at the entrance of the cave, and He Jinghe's nerves immediately tensed up. At this moment, a rabbit came in. He Jinghe's eyes lit up. He was cold and hungry at the moment, and this was simply a dinner sent by God. The rabbit seemed to be a little dazed by the cold, and its movements were very slow. Even He Jinghe, who had such skills, could easily catch it. After the rabbit was roasted, he put out the fire. The cave was full of smoke. He took the remaining half of the rabbit and ran out at night. He didn't know that his actions were seen by others. Still alive? He Jinghe put down the teacup and asked in a low voice.
Alive.
Yunqi said with a smile. We brothers were afraid that he would starve to death, so we helped him hunt a rabbit, and He Jinghe, that idiot, didn't even have the slightest suspicion. Oh, if it weren't for the protection of the Dingwa Palace, how could he have lived until now with his brain? He Jinghe sneered. I don't know what those people were thinking to find him. Prince, what should we do next? Spread the news that the ring is lost. Not only that, but also tell people what the ring is used for. Yunqi heard this and smiled. By then, I'm afraid other countries will want to take it away. If they want to take it away, just come. He Jinghe said in a deep voice, I want to see how many people covet the things of our Dingwa Palace. Prince, the princess has also come to the county. He Jinghe walked to the window and looked at the carriage going away. He knew that Shang Ruai bought a shop, so where did the silver come from? Miss, a man just sent a note. Ingxue handed the note to her. Shang Ruai saw the content of the note and curled her lips. Ling Feng was quite capable. He actually brought those cows here. It seems that he really kept a trick from Shan Hung before. Let's go. We're going to pick up the goods. Pick up the goods? Ing Shue didn't understand, but there was one thing she knew, that is, she would do whatever the lady said, no problem. When they arrived at the market, a group of people gathered in front of a stall. Mom, look, this cow looks so strange, with black and white patches on its body. A child said. Yes. This is the first time I have seen a cow that looks like this since I was a child. You ignorant people, this is a cow unique to the western regions. The milk produced by this cow is extremely delicious. A man in brocade said excitedly, I was lucky enough to eat some in the early years. It was really delicious. The word milk is extremely unfamiliar to the people of Tianshan. Cow's milk is something that can only be eaten in the palace, and it is extremely precious. Cows are common in the western regions, but this kind of livestock is not allowed to be brought into other countries, and no one in Tianshan knows how to raise cows, so cows have never appeared in Tianshan for so many years. Shopkeeper, are you selling this cow? Ling Feng opened his eyes and glanced at the man who asked him, if you want to buy it, you can only buy all of them.
Can you do it?
How much silver does a cow cost? 200 taels. 200 taels? There are 30 cows here, so wouldn't it cost 6,000 taels? Hearing this number, the people around couldn't help but gasp. Not to mention whether this cow can be raised, just 6,000 taels of silver is not something that anyone can afford. I'll buy it. A female voice came. Ling Feng's lips curled up. It came really quickly. Ing Shue handed him a box, and when he opened it, there were neatly stacked silver bills inside. Hiss! Where did this girl come from? 6,000 taels of silver were taken out without a second thought? Miss, this is 6,000 taels of silver, not 600 taels. A country gentleman who was watching said, Miss, you should think twice before you act. Shang Ruai smiled. Thank you for reminding me. Miss, what are your plans for buying these cows? Shang Ruai pointed to the street in the distance. I bought a tea house over there, and I will reopen it after the decoration is completed. At that time, there will be milk to eat. So that's it. Miss, you are straightforward. But do you know how to raise these cows? Ling Feng smiled and said, If you don't know, I can help you raise them, but the silver. Silver is not a problem as long as I can raise these cows well. In this way, Ling Feng and these cows have a clear way out. He drove these cows to a farm outside the city, and Ling Feng stayed there for the past 2 days. Shang Ruai looked at this place and said with a smile, You really know how to choose a place. This farm is so big, very suitable for raising these cows. This farm is mine. Ling Feng sat on a stone bench, poured himself a glass of water, took a big gulp, his eyelids drooped, hiding the complicated look in his eyes. Seeing that he had no intention to continue, Shang Ruai did not ask any more questions. Since this place is yours, can these cows be raised here? Shang Ruai smiled and said, I can pay you silver. Okay. Ling Feng smiled. What I lack most now is silver. I wonder how much silver the young lady is willing to pay me? Listening to his sarcastic voice, Shang Ruai smiled. The reason why I disguise myself as a man is because it is inconvenient for a girl to be away from home. Ling Feng nodded, and his expression eased slightly after hearing her explanation. When I saw the young lady today, I thought I was dazzled. Shang Ruai looked at the cows, and the corners of her mouth rose slightly. Everything is ready, only the east wind is missing. Now her milk tea shop can finally open. On this day, when leaving the farm, Shang Ruai filled 2 cans of milk. Looking at her back as she left, Ling Feng's lips slowly curled up and a dark color flashed across his eyes. He Jingheng, there are some accounts that we can settle. After returning to the He mansion, Shang Ruai went to the kitchen. Soon, a steaming fried milk came out of the oven. She also steamed a pot of steamed buns with milk and took out the tea leaves collected from the northern Shi merchants and boiled a pot of milk tea. The mellow smell wafted out from the kitchen. At this time, Hyuni came to the kitchen and poked her head in. Sister-in-law, what delicious food are you making? Shang Ruai brought out the food. Try quickly. What is this? Fried milk.
What?
Fried what? Hyuni exclaimed. Milk? Is it the milk I think of? Shang Ruai nodded. It's the milk you think of. Hyuni put the fried milk into her mouth, and the rich milk fragrance filled her mouth. Hyuni squinted her eyes as she ate. Sister-in-law, it's so delicious. Is this small cube fried milk? Hyuni took out another piece and put it in her mouth. Eat slowly. Shang Ruai poured her a cup of milk tea and said with a smile, Don't choke. No one can resist milk tea, especially girls. Hyuni took a sip of milk tea and said in surprise, Sister-in-law, what is this? This is called milk tea. Then what are the black little in it? It is very chewy when bitten in the mouth. Pearls. Pearls? Dongshu? Hyuni almost spit out what was in her mouth. This is made of cassava flour. Shang Ruai smiled. It's edible. After eating the fried milk and milk tea, Hyuni's admiration for Shang Ruai was beyond words. Sister-in-law. Hyuni hugged Shang Ruai's arm with some excitement. I must have done a lot of good deeds in my previous life, so I can meet a good sister-in-law like you in this life. Shang Ruai touched her head with some pity. In the previous life, the youngest member of her team was also a girl like Hyuni. She was the youngest in the team and a real foodie, but she didn't blink when she killed people. Everyone said she was a devil loli, but only Shang Ruai knew that she would hide and cry for a whole night after every mission. Every time at this time, she would make a big meal for her, and she would hug her arm like Hyuni and say thank you to the captain. Her smile finally stayed at the age of 19. When performing a mission, she was targeted by the opponents and the bullet pierced her heart. Even if she was a divine doctor, she couldn't take her back from the hands of the god of death. If there was such a space in her body, she might really be able to rescue her. So she always loved and tolerated Hyuni. At this time, Qin, Lin from the third room, and Song Fangji came in. What are you two eating? It's so sweet. We can smell it in Fangji's yard. Qin said with a smile. It's just out of the oven, and I'm thinking of sending it to each yard. Shang Ruai said with a smile. Come and try it. Shang Ruai asked the servants to send one portion to the old princess and left one portion for He Jingheng. What is this? Why is it so delicious? Zhang took a bite of fried fresh milk and exclaimed, Is it made with milk? Yes. Oh my god. I didn't expect to eat milk here. She had eaten cakes made with milk several times at palace banquets, but there was not much milk in them, so she could only taste a faint milky fragrance, which made her linger. Now this fried milk is full of milky fragrance, so delicious that people want to swallow their tongues. Qin also praised it, and Song Fangji ate it in small bites. Shang Ruai saw that she looked unhappy and asked softly, What's wrong? I've been feeling uncomfortable lately, and I can't sleep well at night, and I don't have any appetite. Song Fangji rubbed her head and said listlessly, I'm embarrassed to bother my sister-in-law so often. Which woman isn't pregnant? I'm just being pretentious. But you can't say that. Shang Ruai put her hand on her wrist. It's the most difficult thing for a woman to be pregnant and give birth. How can you take it lightly? It's normal to be more pretentious than usual. That's right, Fangji. Did Jinghe bully you? Lin said seriously. If he bullies you, just tell me and I'll punish him. No, Jinghe treats me very well, but I've been feeling a little uncomfortable recently. Shang Ruai frowned, and Song Fangji's pulse looked a little strange. It didn't seem to be a problem at the moment, but it seemed that there was some hidden danger. Xiaoyao hurriedly handed over the medicine box. Taking out the silver needle, Shang Ruai lifted up her sleeve and pierced her arm. After a few injections, red spots suddenly appeared on her skin. This is it. Poisoning. Shang Ruai said in a deep voice. Someone poisoned you. What? Song Fangji looked at the red spots on her arm in panic. Sister-in-law, will this poison affect my child? Shang Ruai shook her head. It hasn't had time to enter the fetus yet. If it's a few days later, it's hard to say. Who wants to poison our flesh and blood of the He family? Lin said angrily. Qin was also shocked and clenched her handkerchief. How did this poison get into Fangji? It should have entered the body little by little from the food, but something is wrong. Shang Ruai took a little blood from her fingertips. Dripping into the bowl, The blood did not float away with the water, and it was still in the shape of a drop of water. "It's cinnabar tears," Shang Ruai said in a deep voice. "The person who poisoned it is so cruel. This is an extremely vicious chronic poison. If a pregnant woman is poisoned by it, she will cry blood and die when the poison takes effect, and the fetus will be stillborn. One corpse, 2 lives. Who is so cruel to poison it like this?" Qin had heard of this poison and was shocked. "Boy, if it is cinnabar tears, then Fangji and the child, wouldn't it be?" Qin's words made Song Fangji's heart clench. "Sister-in-law. Don't worry, I'm here." Shang Ruai picked up the silver needle and pierced the acupuncture points on her body. "The detoxification process will be a little painful, just bear with it." A cry of pain escaped from her mouth. Black blood flowed from her fingertips. To detoxify the cinnabar tears, the poisonous blood must be completely drained. The feeling of dizziness gradually appeared. Shang Ruai took out a pill and put it in her mouth. Normal pills are bitter, but Shang Ruai's pills are sweet. Not long after, Song Fangji felt clear-headed and her physical strength was fully restored. Shang Ruai looked at the half bowl of black blood that had already flowed, her face gloomy. If she hadn't often added spiritual spring water to the He family's drinking water, these measured cinnabar tears would have killed her long ago. After a while, the color of the blood finally turned bright red. Shang Ruai applied a layer of powder on her fingertips, and the wound stopped bleeding instantly. "It's done." She wiped the sweat from her forehead. Lin took her hand and said gratefully, "Roy, good child, thanks to you otherwise." "Isn't it a bit polite for third aunt to say that?" Shang Ruai smiled and said, "Fortunately, it was discovered in time. Fangji and the child are fine. Otherwise the consequences would be disastrous." Hyuni said in a deep voice, "Who is it?" He actually used such a despicable method as poisoning. Shang Ruai narrowed her eyes slightly. The Dinghua Palace has become what it is now, and there are still assassinations and poisonings. What is there in this palace that makes them so afraid? When did these symptoms start? Song Fangji thought for a while and said, "It was after my sister-in-law went to the western regions that these symptoms began to appear." Qin frowned. During that period, it was the time when the servants who made cakes entered the mansion. She couldn't help but clenched her handkerchief. Could it be him? If it was really the cook who poisoned, then her sin would be great, because she was the one who brought the cook in. "Bring the cook up." Not long after, Old Li was escorted up by the servants. He had seen the crown prince's consort in the mansion before, and she had once praised the cakes he made for being delicious. "Meet the young madam." He smiled innocently. "Young madam, is there anything you want to ask me? Have you made cakes for the third young madam recently?" Old Li thought for a moment. "I only made cakes for the third young madam once, not recently." Song Fangji nodded to her. It was true. Since Shang Ruai took her pulse, she had never asked anyone to bring cakes to her again. "Young madam, is there anything wrong with the cakes I made?" He said in panic. "Young madam, if there is anything wrong, you can tell me, I will correct it, and please don't drive me out." The Dinghua Palace was confiscated and exiled, and they were also dismissed. He tried to find a way out in other places, but when they heard that he used to be in the Dinghua Palace, they refused to say a word and drove him out directly. There was a shopkeeper who had received a favor from the Dinghua Palace and secretly kept him. Before 10 days had passed, he was discovered by others. Not only him, but also the shop was closed. He had no choice but to come to this remote place. Unexpectedly, he met Qin here. "Young madam, my family has no place to stay in the capital, so I came here in desperation. Please give me a way to live." Shang Ruai saw that he didn't look like a liar, smiled and said, "What are you thinking? I still have some milk here, you can take it back and make some cakes, and send it to me." Hearing Shang Ruai say this, he wiped the tears from the corners of his eyes, stood up and held the jar in his arms, and finally let go of his hanging heart. Looking at him like this, it shouldn't be him who did it. Qin whispered, "Who could it be?" At this time, Aunt Zhao, who had been recovering from her injuries in bed for a long time, walked in. "Oh, it's really lively today." She perfunctorily bowed and found a place to sit down. She looked at the fried milk on the table. Her eyes flickered, but she didn't say anything. Andy is fine now. Why did you come out? Shang Ruai smiled and said, I thought Annie was hiding in the yard and was too embarrassed to come out. Why should I be embarrassed to come out? I just got a stick. Aunt Zhao's face flashed an unnatural expression, and she said in a deep voice, How can you, a junior, talk like that? Don't think that you can ignore your elders just because you have been in charge of the mansion for a few days. Don't forget that you are just a concubine. Before she finished speaking, she heard the voice of the old princess. Whoever mentions that Ruai is a concubine again, get out. Aunt Zhao was shocked and stood up quickly. The old princess ate the food sent by Shang Ruai and was surprised. She didn't expect to eat such rare milk here. Even in the capital, she couldn't eat it whenever she wanted. Grandmother. If you ask me, it is Jingheng who is lucky to marry Ruai so that our He family can be in the situation today. If anyone brings up her background again, don't blame me for being rude. Aunt Zhao shuddered. She has always been very afraid of the old princess. Aunt Zhao stepped forward and smiled apologetically, Mother. When the old princess heard her address her, she glared at her coldly. She quickly changed her words and said, Old lady, what are you doing here today? Aunt Zhao smiled and said, My body is much better now, and I think I can help with some things in the mansion. Huh, is there anything in this mansion that you can do? The old princess snorted coldly. I see Ruai coming in and out every day, so I thought of helping her share some of the burden. Help her share? Lin sneered. I see that you are short of money, and you want to get some benefits from it. Aunt Zhao's face changed slightly, and she glared at her hatefully. Her eyes passed over to Song Fangji's belly, and she pouted and said, The third lady has a mean heart. Although her eyes were obscure, they did not escape Shang Ruai's eyes. You just stay in the mansion and don't go out to cause trouble. The old princess snorted coldly. If it weren't for Ruai last time, the three of you mother and son would have been beheaded long ago. Aunt Zhang smiled awkwardly. Yes, old lady. The old princess set her eyes on Shang Ruai, her eyes full of love. Child, you haven't told your grandmother yet. What exactly is the name of your snack? Shang Ruai told them about her purchase of a shop in town, including the purchase of a dairy cow.
What?
6,000 taels? Aunt Zhao said loudly. 6,000 taels to buy a cow. Are you crazy? Aunt Zhao. Shang Ruai sneered. What does this have to do with you? Why not? That's all the money of our He family. 6,000 taels. You took it to buy a shop without saying a word. Do you think you can take money at will as the housekeeper?
Aunt Zhao.
Shang Ruai interrupted her with a sneer. My grandmother gave me this power when she handed the He family over to me. That's 6,000 taels, plus the shop and the tea you mentioned. It's almost 10,000 taels. 10,000 taels. Enough for our family to live in this place of exile for a lifetime. Shut up. The old princess said angrily. This room is full of masters. How can you, a concubine, have the right to speak? Madam, I'm just worried. What are you waiting for? Lin said coldly. Take Aunt Zhao away, and don't come out unless it's necessary. Shang Ruai said nothing, just took the milk tea and took a sip. He Yuni looked at Aunt Zhao and said faintly, Aunt, don't you still think you are in the palace? You rely on your father's favor to make decisions about the affairs of the palace.
You are just a concubine.
It is the grandmother's favor that allows you to stand in this main hall. You even complain about what your sister-in-law did. Who do you think you are? She could bully anyone, but Yuni would be the first one to stop her from bullying her sister-in-law. Aunt Zhao blushed and retreated from the main hall. At this moment, the servants came up with 2 plates of milky, white snacks. Shang Ruai looked at her back, and a dark color flashed in her eyes. Aunt Zhao returned to her yard, where He Qinian and Lin Shuyu were eating snacks. She saw it, and when she thought of the humiliation she suffered in the main hall, she couldn't help but get angry. Aunt Zhao stepped forward and overturned the plate on the table to the ground, and the cakes in the plate rolled to the ground. Eat, eat, eat. All you do is eat. Aunt Zhao said coldly. You think about eating all day long. How could I give birth to such a waste like you? And you. She tapped Lin Shiyu's head with her hand. Why did Archinian marry such a heartless person like you? If you have half the ability of Shang Ruai or are as motivated as Song Fangji's belly, I wouldn't have to embarrass myself in front of so many people. I'm so sorry that I'm scheming for you. You're really a hopeless case. He Qinian and Lin Shiyu have been living under the suppression of Aunt Zhao for these years. If Aunt Zhao got angry today as usual, they would not dare to say a word. But since the exile, He Qinian's mentality has changed a lot. Mother. He stood up, picked up the scattered cakes on the ground, and put them back on the plate. When I was in the palace, I never knew that a grain of rice had to go through so many processes before it was served on the table. After I recovered, I went to the greenhouse and realized how hard it was to get food. You should not throw cakes on the ground like this. Aunt Zhao was shocked by He Qinian's words. When He Qinian was in the palace, he had always been a second-generation ancestor, relying on his father and brother's military merits and the power of Dingwa Palace, and he was uneducated. I didn't expect that he would say such a thing today. But Aunt Zhao's attention was obviously not on this. She said coldly, "How dare you talk back to me? Who taught you the rules? Mother, if you have nothing to say, go back and rest." Aunt Zhao was so angry that she trembled all over and turned to Lin Shiyu and said, "Is it you? I knew that you, a jinx, are not a good thing. Since you came in, Qinian seems to have changed into a different person. It must be you who instigated it." Lin Shiyu, who was innocently implicated, was frightened by her roar, and tears could not stop falling. He Qinian frowned, looked at Aunt Zhao with disapproval, and pulled Lin Shiyu out. Aunt Zhao sat on the chair full of anger, looking at the cakes on the table. She was even more angry, and threw the cakes directly on the ground, and even stepped on them a few times. The next morning, Shang Ruai came to the county town. The layout of the shop did not need to be changed too much. Only a kitchen and display cabinet for making milk tea and snacks were added. The display cabinet was decorated with glass, which looked very beautiful. Old Wu had been waiting for a long time. Seeing Shang Ruai coming, he hurried out to greet her. "Look, how is it?" Shang Ruai had already packed up the milk tea shop and nodded. "Not bad, not bad. Thank you for your hard work, Old Wu." "It's not hard, not hard." Old Wu smiled and said to Shang Ruai, "I have been a lot quieter in recent days. I heard that Old Xia has been very busy recently." Old Xia has indeed been busy these days. "But why did I hear that he got some benefits from you?" Old Wu coughed twice. "Although his task is heavier, you can't favor one over the other. You should treat us two old men equally." Shang Ruai nodded. "Got it. I'll have someone send it to you later." Old Wu smacked his lips. Old Xia had been showing off in front of him for a long time, saying how delicious the fruit was, but he had never even heard of it. He was really envious. At this time, a servant came over and said to Shang Ruai respectfully, "Are you Miss Shang?"
Yes.
Shang Ruai asked softly, "What's the matter?" "A young master asked me to give you this note, saying that you will understand after reading it." The servant handed the note to her and left. Shang Ruai opened the note, her eyes darkened, and she put the note away. Leaving Ying Xue in the shop, Shang Ruai hid in a small alley and took advantage of the fact that no one was around to enter the space directly. Not long after, a man in white with a golden mask walked out of the alley. According to the address on the note, Shang Ruai came to a farm. "Are you young Master Lingjun?" A man with a sword on his waist walked up to her. "That's right. Young master, please follow me." The man's face showed a little more respect. The master has been waiting for a long time. Shang Ruai pushed the mask on her face. It seemed that her disguise was still very successful. Yun Tian did not recognize her. Yun Tian led her to a room. Shang Ruai looked at the environment around the manor and couldn't help but be amazed. He Jingheng was really rich. This manor is not worse than the Dingwa Palace. Thinking of this, she was a little annoyed that she had to support the family even though he was so rich. "Master, young Master Lingjun is here," Yun Tian said softly. "Please come in." He Jingheng's low voice sounded. Shang Ruai walked into the study and saw the man who had disappeared in the past 2 days.
Go down. Yes.
Yun Tian retreated respectfully. Ling Jun? He Jingheng smiled. If Lord Shang knew that his exiled daughter, who was exiled by him, had such ability, he would probably the factory will regret it. Shang Rui saw that he got straight to the point and said with a smile, if the emperor knew that the prince of Dinghua Palace who was exiled by him lived a more carefree life than in the capital, I guess he would really regret it. He Jingheng remained noncommittal. I've known that this day would come when my achievements become a threat to my master. So you built this villa? Shang Rui touched the chair she was sitting on, which was made of golden Nanmu wood. TSK, I wonder if I can use golden Nanmu wood to make a coffin for myself when I die. What nonsense are you talking about? He Jingheng's tone was slightly low. Shang Rui smiled awkwardly. Why did you ask me to come here today as Master Lingjun? Shang Rui smiled. Actually, what I want to ask is how did you know my identity? Did you go to Shanheng to investigate? I guessed, he said lightly. Guessed? She almost spit out a mouthful of tea. How did you guess? The time when Master Lingjun appeared was exactly the same as the time when you went to Shanheng, and the coral bracelet you gave to Uni was from the Qiao family. From this, I concluded that the miracle doctor who helped the Qiao family detoxify was you. Boring. Shang Rui took another sip of tea, frowning slightly. Why did the taste of this tea seem familiar? But it was just tea, and it was almost the same, so she didn't take it to heart. So, what do you want me to do to help you with the identity of Lingjun? Help me save someone. To make him reveal so much to herself, this person must be very important to him. Could it be a confidant or something like that? Shang Rui's expression was slightly restrained. Who? My father. Huh. She didn't react for a moment. Your father-in-law. Shang Rui was slightly surprised. Did he mean that Prince Ding had been found? Come with me. He took her out of the study and came to a rockery in the backyard. Shang Rui could tell at a glance that there was a mechanism on the rockery. He Jingheng tapped a few times on the rockery, and a stone door slowly opened. Shang Rui looked at the mechanism and curled her lips. It was too easy to be discovered. Seeing that she was not surprised at all, He Jingheng raised his eyebrows. Did you know there was a mechanism here? This mechanism is too obvious, and the location of the stone door is also easy to be discovered. Shang Rui tapped a few times outside the stone door, and several arrows shot out. Look, this kind of mechanism is not used to prevent thieves at all. It is clearly telling the thieves that I have a mechanism here. Come and see. Yun Tian, who was following behind them, couldn't help but be surprised. This mechanism was designed by their prince himself, but he didn't expect it to be cracked so easily. A hint of interest flashed in He Jingheng's eyes. He didn't expect that she was also involved in the art of mechanism. No, it should not be said to be involved, but it should be said to be proficient. Then, Master Lingjun, are you willing to help me improve this mechanism? He Jingheng said with a smile. It depends on my mood. Shang Rui smiled. You want to invite me out of the mountain. Have you thought about how much silver you want to give me? Just tell Yun Tian how much you want. Yun Tian whispered behind him. Master Lingjun, if you need anything, just tell me directly. As they talked, several people walked through the stone path, and the scene in front of them suddenly opened up. It turned out that the manor next to it was also owned by He Jingheng, and he connected the two manors with a stone path. It's really a big deal. When she came here, Shang Rui's nerves tensed up. She discovered a lot of auras hidden in the dark. Master. Yunqi walked forward and looked at the figure behind He Jingheng, and the three words prince's consort almost came out of his mouth. But looking at his attire, he swallowed the words that were on the tip of his tongue. He couldn't help but be secretly shocked. The prince actually brought her here personally. What this means is self-evident. This is Master Lingjun. He Jingheng had a rare smile on his lips. From now on, Master Lingjun will be responsible for the prince's injuries. Master Lingjun? The prince's wife is Master Lingjun? Yunqi couldn't hide his shock in his eyes. Yes, I am Yunqi, and I meet Master Lingjun. No need to be polite. Shang Rui whispered. Since I am here to treat the prince's injuries, then I will trouble Brother Yunqi to take me to see him. I dare not. Master, just call me Yunqi. Hearing Shang Rui's addressed to himself, Yunqi's alarm bells instantly rang. He had already felt the master's death gaze on him. "I'll take you in." He Jingheng suddenly grabbed her arm and led her into the backyard. Yuntian was a little confused at the back. "What's wrong with the prince? Let us do the job of leading the way." He looked at He Jingheng's hand again. When did the prince get so close to someone? And a strange man at that. Yunqi wanted to dig his eyes out. "That's a man? That's the prince's consort. You blind thing." He didn't know how this fool had such a luck to be able to serve the master and be ranked with the surname Yun. Yunqi, this man named Lingjun, is really amazing. He actually saw through the trap set by the master on the stone mountain at a glance. Yuntian's eyes showed admiration. "If only one day I could be like him." Haha. Yunqi glanced at him. "The person you admire now is the prince's consort who you always talk about and look down on. Her medical skills are so amazing. No wonder the prince treats her differently." Yunqi's eyes almost turned up to the sky. "The prince treats her differently because she is amazing? That's because she is the crown prince's consort, you idiot. If she wasn't the crown prince's consort, let alone her excellent medical skills and outstanding eyesight, even if she was a god, their crown prince wouldn't even look at her." Seeing him like this, Yunqi didn't want to tell him the truth at all. When this idiot finds out himself, he will probably be amused by his own stupidity. Shang Ruai followed He Jingheng all the way to the backyard. The guards were stunned to see their master pulling a man. They have served the crown prince for so long, but they have never seen anyone get close to the master, let alone let the master take the initiative to pull him away. Where did this person come from? Shang Ruai's face became redder and redder as he was pulled by him. If it weren't for the mask covering her face would have been red like crazy. In fact, when He Jingheng was halfway there, he regretted it a little. He didn't know what was wrong with him. Seeing her smiling at Yunqi, he couldn't help but want to pull her away. Arriving at the door, he let go of Shang Ruai's hand and looked back at her. He couldn't see her expression under the mask, but he accidentally glimpsed her slightly red ear tips, and He Jingheng couldn't help but feel in a good mood. "He's in there." Shang Ruai nodded, glared at him, and walked in. He Jingheng was stunned by her look. He could feel the girl's cuteness even through the mask. He Jingheng looked at his hand that had just held her arm, and the smile on his lips continued to expand. This was the scene that Yunqi and Yuntian saw when they arrived. The master is looking at his own hand and smiling. Yuntian asked blankly. Yunqi nodded. "Is the master sick too?" Yunqi nodded again. The dark guards hidden in the courtyard couldn't help but look at their master in horror. Could it be that the master is a homosexual? Shang Ruai walked to the inner room and smelled a foul smell as soon as she entered. She couldn't help but frown. She walked forward and found that the smell was coming from the bed. At this time, He Jingheng walked to her side and whispered, "When our people found my father, he was like this." People who looked at him said that he didn't have much time to live. Shang Ruai walked forward and lifted the quilt covering his body. She was suddenly shocked. She saw that there was no good skin and flesh on his body. Every inch of skin seemed to be cut open with a blunt instrument. What a cruel heart. Unlike the pain of a sharp weapon, which is only a moment, the pain of a blunt instrument tearing and grinding on the skin is dozens of times more painful than a sharp weapon like a sharp knife. The prince's injury is very serious. Even I can't be completely sure, and the rotten flesh on his body needs to be removed with a knife. It's very painful. Shang Ruai paused and said, "I need someone to help me when I treat it. Even with anesthesia, there will still be pain when cutting off the rotten flesh."
How sure are you?
70%. Hearing her say this, He Jingheng couldn't help but look at her a little more. Among so many doctors coming and going, only she dared to say that she was 70% sure. "I'll help you." Shang Ruai nodded and took out a few porcelain bottles and a very small knife from her sleeve pocket. He Jingheng was stunned. What did she carry with her every day? How could this be in her sleeve pocket? These were all taken out from the space. The sleeve pocket and the bag she occasionally carried on her body were just things to cover up her identity. Shang Ruai gave him the spiritual spring water in the porcelain bottle to drink. After a while, he seemed to have regained some vitality, and his eyelids began to tremble slightly, but he still did not wake up. She looked at He Jingheng standing beside her. Turn around.
What?
Turn around. This is the secret method I learned from my master. It is passed down to girls, not boys. Unless you want to be my sister, you have to turn around and can't look. The word sister successfully made He Jingheng's face darken. You girl, you talk without restraint all day long. After saying that, he turned around honestly. Don't look back, otherwise we'll call each other sisters in the future. Seeing that he ignored her, Shang Ruai took out an anesthetic from the space and injected it into Prince Ding's body. The eyes that were still trembling slightly just now returned to calmness. Okay. She put away the anesthetic and said softly, the prince can turn around. When He Jingheng turned around and set his eyes on Prince Ding's body, he noticed the needle hole on his body. The needle hole seemed to be much larger than the needle hole of the silver needle, but he was tactful and didn't ask any more questions. I am going to remove the rotten flesh from his body now. Even if he is in a coma, he may wake up because of the pain. You must help me hold the prince down. After saying that, she put on gloves, picked up a scalpel, and began to remove the rotten flesh. He looked at the gloves for a long time and couldn't help asking, "What are you wearing on your hands?" This sentence almost made Shang Ruai's knife go to the wrong place. How could she forget about the gloves? How could Tian Shun have such a thing? But her face did not change and she whispered, "This is what my master gave me. There are only a few pairs in total. You won't understand even if I tell you." How can I understand if you don't tell me? He Jingheng suddenly looked at the gloves like a curious baby and then asked what material the scalpel in her hand was made of. He didn't forget that when she came to the land of exile for the first time to assassinate someone, the hidden weapon she threw out looked like this, but afterwards, when he went to look for it, he didn't find any. Can you please stop talking? Shang Ruai couldn't help herself and shouted loudly, "If you keep asking questions, get out." She didn't lower her voice. Not only He Jingheng heard it, but also the secret guards standing at the door and guarding in the dark of the yard. Yun Tian opened his eyes wide. It's over, it's over. This Ling Jun is afraid that his life will be in danger. Is the last person who spoke to the master like this still alive? Oh, no, no one dares to speak to the master like this. He was ready for Ling Jun to be fanned out of the room by the master. But after waiting for a long time, there was no movement in the room. He was even more frightened. Their master endured it? The sun really rose from the west, and their master didn't throw him out. Yunqi smiled. Sure enough, the treatment of the prince's wife was really different. He Jingheng in the room was stunned by Shang Ruai's roar. This woman is really brave. In fact, Shang Ruai was also a little scared after roaring. But seeing that he didn't make any move, her attention returned to the action of her hands. He Jingheng looked at Shang Ruai, who was serious and focused, and a trace of appreciation flashed across his eyes. At this moment, a drop of sweat flowed down from her forehead. He Jingheng subconsciously took his handkerchief to wipe her sweat. When he realized what he was doing, he was stunned. Looking at the handkerchief in his hand, he couldn't help but laugh. He Jingheng, you can even do such a thing as wiping a woman's sweat. Your life is ruined. At this moment, Shang Ruai's slightly anxious voice came. The anesthesia time is over. Hurry up. Hold him down. Hearing this, He Jingheng stretched out his finger and pressed on his sleeping point. The next moment, the body that had been moving suddenly became silent. Shang Ruai blinked and suddenly found that she seemed a little silly. How could she forget that the ancients who had internal strength would use the method of acupuncture? He Jingheng smiled. Go on. It took a total of 3 hours for Shang Ruai to remove all the rotten meat. She opened the porcelain bottle, sprinkled the powder on Prince Ding, turned to He Jingheng and said, "He may have a fever tonight, so you must send someone to watch him. If he has a fever, take this pill in time." He Jingheng took the pill and said softly, "You are tired today. Why don't you rest in the mansion? But if I don't come home at night, the mansion. I have sent someone to give my mother a letter of divorce." He Jingheng looked at the person lying on the bed. There is no doctor in the mansion now. If there is any emergency, no one can handle it. If the mansion doctor heard this, he would probably burst into tears, so he is transparent? Shang Ruai heard this and thought for a moment. but she had to come to the county town early tomorrow morning, so it was convenient to stay here.
Okay. Gurgle.
Shang Ruai smiled a little embarrassedly. I'm a little hungry. I neglected it. He told Yunqi outside the door to prepare the meal, and specifically asked him to prepare 3 fresh duck. He remembered that he heard Qian Yang mention by chance that Shang Ruai liked to eat the 3 fresh duck at Taiyangxiangju. Yunqi nodded in agreement, and after telling the kitchen, he went to Taiyangxiangju to pack 3 fresh duck. Hey, isn't this brother Yunqi? Qian Yang looked at the dishes in the food box in his hand and said with a smile, Is this what your master uses to please his wife? The shopkeeper has a good eye. Yunqi bowed. Goodbye. Qian Yang looked at Yunqi's back as he left and couldn't help but smiled and shook her head. She had never seen her master care so much about anyone in all these years. She just mentioned it casually in front of him, and the master remembered it in his heart. When Shang Ruai saw the 3 fresh duck on the table, her eyes lit up. Before He Jingheng finished washing his hands, she picked up the chopsticks and picked up a piece of duck meat and put it in her mouth. It was indeed the 3 fresh duck from Taiyangxiangju. She smiled and said, I didn't expect you to like this dish too. He Jingheng just smiled and said nothing. How could Yunqi miss the opportunity to give his master extra points? He walked forward and said with a smile, This is what the master specially asked his subordinates to buy from Taiyangxiangju. Upon hearing this, Shang Ruai paused with the chopsticks in her hand, but the smile on her face did not diminish. She looked at He Jingheng and whispered, It seems that the prince has a close relationship with the owner of Taiyangxiangju. He can even find out such a small matter. Yunqi's breathing stagnated. He didn't expect that she could guess the relationship between the master and Taiyangxiangju from the sentence. He looked at He Jingheng. Now he knew what it meant to add fuel to the fire. It was all his fault. He Jingheng smiled. I didn't mean to hide it from you. Taiyangxiangju is mine. Shang Ruai nodded. Seeing him so frank, she smiled and said, The prince doesn't need to tell me. These have nothing to do with me. He Jingheng just smiled and said nothing. Seeing her eating happily, he actually felt that today's meal was very delicious. He ate a bowl of rice unknowingly. He was not picky about food when he was on the march and fighting. As long as he could fill his stomach, he could swallow it. But he only ate very little. He almost never ate a whole bowl of rice like he did today. When the cook in the mansion knew that the prince actually ate a whole bowl of rice, he was almost moved to tears. He thought that his cooking skills had improved. As a result, when He Jingheng was dining alone, he cooked a table of exactly the same food, but it was all returned intact. He really cried this time. Eat slowly. He Jingheng picked up a new handkerchief and wiped the oil stains on her lips. This dish of duck is all yours. No one will eat from you. His hand touched the metal mask that covered half of her face, and Shang Ruai came back to her senses and said softly, I can do it myself. She took the handkerchief and wiped the oil stains on her lips with a smile on her lips. This handkerchief is stained with oil. I won't return it to the prince. He Jingheng's action shocked Yuntian and refreshed Yunqi's 3 views. Yuntian's eyes almost popped out. What did he just see? The master wiped someone's mouth. Or wiped a man's mouth. Is he dazzled? Yunqi swallowed his saliva. He knew that the prince was sincere to the prince's wife, but he didn't expect that his prince could do this. Is this really what he can see? Is the prince sure he won't dig out their eyes? Don't you know where my room is? I'll take you there. He Jingheng was about to get up when he was held down by Shang Ruai. Let Yunqi take me there.
What?
Yunqi, who was named, almost knelt down before her. Princess, I don't know how I have offended you to deserve this disaster. He Jingheng's face darkened slightly, and he glanced at Yunqi. The next moment, Yunqi covered his stomach with a look of pain on his face. Master, I have a stomachache and will withdraw first. After that, he ran faster than a rabbit. Shang Ruai looked at him in confusion. She was just wearing a mask. Was it so scary?
Why?
He Jingheng's low voice sounded.
Why?
Why should Yunqi take you there? He stared at her intently, as if he was looking for an answer on her face. Your legs are not conducive to walking. I want to perform surgery on you today. Before that, you can't use force on your legs for half a month. Shang Ruai looked at his legs and whispered, "If you delay any longer, I'm afraid it will be difficult to recover." Surgery? He Jingheng was stunned. She had told him about the surgery before. Could his legs really recover? Thinking of her appearance when she just removed the rotten meat, He Jingheng's heart suddenly surged with turbulent waves. It was rare to see him stunned. Shang Ruai smiled and said, "Sir, don't forget to prepare silver."
Ha!
"What silver? If you can heal my legs, I will give you whatever you want." Yun Tian heard the expression on his face, and you can write a storybook. His master was like a different person in front of this man named Lingjun Gongzi. Could it be that he really has some quirks? But Lingjun Gongzi said that he could heal the master's legs. If this is true, let alone silver, I would give her my life. So the person who sent Shang Ruai to the guest room changed from Yunqi to Yun Tian. Along the way, Yun Tian was really itching to heal her and couldn't help asking, "Master Lingjun, can you really heal our master's leg?" Shang Ruai glanced at him, nodded and said, "Of course." Yun Tian was very excited to hear that and respectfully sent her to the guest room, then turned around and went to find Yunqi. "Really?" Yunqi exclaimed. "Master Lingjun really said that?" "Of course. How could I joke with you about the master's leg?" Yun Tian said with a smile, "When the master's leg recovers, and one day, when he has achieved great success in the future, the master will definitely divorce that woman Shang Ruai. How can he be worthy of being with the master?" Yunqi hurriedly covered his mouth with his hand. "Shut up. I warn you, if you say anything bad about the crown prince's consort again, I will peel off your skin." Woo woo woo. Yunqi understood why he was asking him. "You don't know the reason with your brain, just remember my words, especially in front of the master and Master Lingjun. If you want to stay alive, keep your mouth shut, otherwise no one can protect you." That night, Prince Ding, He Yuan, really had a fever. "My lord, the prince has a high fever, and I can't do anything." The court doctor wiped the sweat from his forehead and whispered, "I'm afraid I'll have to trouble Master Lingjun." He Jingheng glanced at him. A waste. He couldn't even cure a fever. When Yun Tian brought Shang Ruai in, there were already people kneeling in the room. "This is..." She looked at He Jingheng. "Master Lingjun, we are the palace doctors." The leader acted as if he had found a life-saving straw. "The prince has a high fever, and we have no other way. Please help, master." "Palace doctors? So many?" Shang Ruai moved her gaze from them to He Jingheng's face. "Didn't the prince say that there are no doctors in the palace? What does it mean to shoot oneself in the foot?" "This is it." He Jingheng touched the tip of his nose and whispered, "They just returned to the mansion. Does the prince think I'm a fool?" Shang Ruai was almost laughed at by him. Pushing aside the crowd, he came to the bed, took out the silver needle and pierced the acupuncture points a few times, looking at the porcelain bottle on the table. Can the medicine in the porcelain bottle be drunk by the prince?
Not yet.
A palace doctor stepped forward and said in a trembling voice, "The prince did not tell us what is in it. How dare we play with the prince's body?" He picked up the porcelain bottle, but he really didn't see what was in it. He Jingheng didn't say that the things in the porcelain bottle could be drunk. Shang Ruai looked at He Jingheng. She had told him so many times before she left that if he had a fever, he should drink it. Could it be that this gentleman turned a deaf ear to her words? At this moment, Yunqi stepped forward and helped He Yuan up. "Sir, I will feed the prince." Shang Ruai handed him the porcelain bottle, smiled, and said, "You are more perceptive than your master." After saying this, Yunqi was so scared that he almost crushed the porcelain bottle in his hand. "Princess, can you not just pit him?" Feeling He Jingheng's gaze, Yunqi gritted his teeth and fed He Yuan the Lingquan book, and then stood behind He Jingheng. After the Lingquan water was swallowed, He Yuan's high fever subsided not long after. The court doctor saw this and couldn't help but exclaimed, "It's amazing. It's really amazing." Shang Ruai lifted the corner of his back to look at the wound on He Yuan's arm, and then took out the powder and handed it to the court doctor. "Sprinkle this powder on the prince's wound every hour. After 3 days, the wound on the prince's body should begin to scab. After all, This powder was prepared in her laboratory, and the effect is naturally not comparable to ordinary wound medicine.
Yes.
The court doctor took the powder carefully, thought for a while, and asked, "Sir, there is something I don't understand. Please teach me."
You say.
I saw that the rotten flesh on the prince's body has been completely removed. How did you do it? Shang Ruai took out a scalpel and handed it to him. Use this knife. The court doctor took it with both hands, and his eyes lit up. There was such a sharp and small knife. But what material is this knife with a glowing color? Is this iron? Iron? Where is the iron? This is not iron. Shang Ruai smiled. This is steel. Seeing that the doctor couldn't let it go, she said softly, "If you like it, this knife will be given to you." Are you serious? The doctor's eyes lit up when he heard this, and he said in surprise, "Can you really give it to me?"
Yes.
But she still had a lot of it in her space. Steel? What is steel? He Jingheng looked at the knife in the doctor's hand, walked forward, and took it in his hand. What is steel? Shang Ruai was stunned for a moment. How could she forget that there was no technology for steelmaking in Tianshan? How should I know? Shang Ruai coughed and stammered. This is what my master left me. It's very precious. It's very precious. And you just give it away like this? Then your knife is really too precious. He Jingheng smiled, held the knife in his hand, and had no intention of returning it to her. Seeing this, the doctor smacked his lips, wanting but not daring to speak. At this moment, Yunqi found that He Yuan's eyelids moved and exclaimed, "Prince, the prince is about to wake up." Hearing this, everyone gathered around. Not long after, He Yuan's eyes slowly opened and his pupils looked forward without focus. Shang Ruai's pupils shrank slightly, and she said in a deep voice, "Get out of the way." Shang Ruai stretched out her fingers and shook them in front of him, but his eyes still did not respond. He Jingheng's brows also frowned tightly. "What's the matter?" He walked forward and asked in a low voice. The prince's eyes seemed to be blind. "What?" Shang Ruai put her hand on his pulse, and Shang Ruai's face became heavier and heavier. After a moment, she took her hand away. "How is it?" The prince's eyes are blind, his voice is hoarse due to the poison, and his ears can't hear. Hiss. It's really hard to imagine how much inhuman torture he has suffered during his disappearance. Sir, the prince must know the man who took him away. He did this in order not to reveal his identity. Yun Tian said in a deep voice. He Jingheng whispered, "Is it irreversible?" Shang Ruai did not speak. "In this case, it is very difficult to treat, almost impossible. I will do my best. It is impossible to restore to the original state." Shang Ruai sighed. What kind of deep hatred could it be
to torture people to this extent?
When she walked out of the room, it was already daybreak. After almost no sleep all night, Shang Ruai yawned. He Jingheng was sitting in a wheelchair, and Yunqi pushed him to her side. Seeing her very tired, he said softly, "It's still early, go and have a rest." Shang Ruai shook her head. "No, I have to go to the shop in town later." Seeing He Jingheng sitting in a wheelchair, she nodded. "You are a teachable boy. You just sit like this. I will perform surgery on you in 15 days. Thank you very much." He Jingheng heard her say this, smiled and said, "Which master did you learn this medical skill from?" "It's a secret." Seeing that she didn't want to say more, He Jingheng didn't force her. After a simple breakfast, Shang Ruai said goodbye and left. Before leaving, she left some medicine powder and spiritual spring water and told the court doctor many times to make sure to apply and drink medicine on time. Leaving He Jingheng's manor, she mixed into the busy streets. He Jingheng looked at the scalpel on the table and fell into deep thought. He had never seen a knife of this material before. Most of the weapons in Tianshan were made of iron. Even the weapons on the battlefield were made of iron. Tianshan had abundant iron ore. Iron things were good in every way, but they were extremely easy to rust. After a long time, a thick layer of rust formed on them, and many weapons were corroded. If all the weapons could be replaced with this material. He looked at the scalpel on the table and fell into deep thought. Shang Ruai came to the shop. Mr. Xie had already delivered the first batch of glass cups. A dark-skinned servant smiled and handed her the 3-layer cloth-wrapped things in his arms. "Shopkeeper, this is what our shopkeeper asked me to give to you." Shang Rui opened the cloth bag and was very surprised to see what was inside. She didn't expect that she only provided a drawing, and Mr. Xie actually made what she wanted in such a short time. There were several plates stacked inside, all made of glass. Shang Rui wanted to use it to place tea, fruit, and snacks. Shang Rui smiled and said to Xue, "Give him some money as a reward." The servant smiled even more when he heard about the reward. "Thank you, boss." Shang Rui looked at the time and said to Xue, "Send someone to the 3rd street to find a scholar who writes letters for others and tell him to come and pick up the goods."
Yes.
At this time, Ling Feng came in with a bag of milk. "Miss, I got what you wanted." Shang Rui smiled. "I was thinking of asking the servants to get it. I have nothing to do." Ling Feng looked at her shop. "Are you going to open it?" Shang Rui nodded. "By then, I'm afraid you will need a lot of milk every day. I'll send a few people to help you on the farm." "No need." Ling Feng smiled. "I can do it myself. I just need to send someone to get it on time every day." Shang Rui heard him say this and didn't insist. At this moment, a familiar voice sounded at the door.
"Sister-in-law."
He Yuni walked to Shang Rui with a smile. "Surprised? Why did you come to town?" Shang Rui tapped her nose. "Did you tell mother?"
"Yes."
He Yuni hugged her arm. "I went to look for you last night, but you didn't come back until the evening. Later, mother said that you and brother would not come back.
I was lost for a long time."
Shang Rui couldn't help laughing when she saw her like this. "Do you miss me or the food I made?" She coughed a little embarrassedly. "Of course I miss my sister-in-law." Her eyes looked at Ling Feng, who was standing opposite her. She thought he was a servant in the shop, but she didn't expect him to be a young master. She smiled a little embarrassedly and let go of the hand that was holding Wenxi's arm. "Sister-in-law, I'll go in and see if there's anything I can help." Although she was exiled, as an unmarried woman, she always had to pay attention to the separation between men and women. Ling Feng looked at Hyuni, then retracted his gaze, smiled, and said, "In this case, I will go back to the manor first." "Okay." Looking at Ling Feng's back as he left, she couldn't help but frown. Since returning to Tianshan, Ling Feng has become a different person compared to when he was with Shan Heng. Before she could think about it, she heard Hyuni's voice. "Sister-in-law, that." She stared at the bag in Xue's hand, and the fragrance of milk emanated from it. Shang Rui immediately knew what she meant and couldn't help but laugh. "You said you miss me, but in my opinion, it's clearly someone's greed." Hyuni's little face flushed. "Of course I miss my sister-in-law more, and wanting to eat is just a byproduct. I won't tease you anymore. He just delivered the milk. I'll make you pearl milk tea." Shang Rui took the milk tea to the back kitchen, and soon, the fragrance of milk tea came to her face. The rich, milky aroma can be smelled even on the street. Many people stopped to look. "What is this smell? Why is it so sweet?" Shang Rui poured the milk tea into the glass bottle and handed it to Hyuni. "Try it."
"Wow.
"What kind of cup is this, sister-in-law? It's so exquisite." Hyuni said in surprise. "I have never seen it in my life. This is called a glass cup." The conversation between the two was clearly heard by the people standing outside the door. They looked at the drink in Hyuni's hand with envy, and the sweet taste made them drool. Shopkeeper, what is this?" A man walked up and pointed at the glass bottle in Hyuni's hand and said, "Are you selling it?" "Yes, it's called pearl milk tea." Shang Rui took out a few small cups, poured the remaining milk tea in the pot into them, and handed him a cup. "Try it and see if it suits your appetite." The man took it, took a sip, and couldn't help but show surprise on his face. There is such a delicious food in the world. The sweet taste filled his mouth, leaving him with an endless aftertaste. Drinking this in such a cold season, I just felt warm all over my body. He drank the rest of the milk tea in one gulp, with a look of satisfaction on his face. Seeing him like this, the others gathered around him. "Shopkeeper, can I have a cup too?" He handed the remaining milk tea to everyone. Although everyone only drank a small sip, it was enough for them to be amazed. I wonder how much a cup of milk tea like this will cost? Shang Ruai smiled. 1 tael of silver for a cup of milk tea. 1 tael of silver? So, expensive? Upon hearing this, a woman hurriedly poured the remaining few drops of milk tea in the cup into her mouth. The first person who buys milk tea will be given a glass cup. If you bring this glass cup to buy milk tea later, you can get a discount of 200 won. After hearing what she said, people's eyes fell on the glass cup again. Although glass products are not extremely rare in the county, it is really the first time to see a glass cup. In this way, 1 tael of silver does not seem to be expensive. When will it be sold? The first man who drank it asked with some anticipation. His wife has been arguing with him recently, and this milk tea may please her. It will open in 3 days. Shang Ruai smiled and said, there will also be some snacks given away for free. I hope everyone will appreciate it. Hearing that there were snacks to be taken, everyone nodded and said yes. After they left, Hyuni asked softly, sister-in-law, is there anything I can help with in the shop?
Why?
You want to help look after the shop? Hyuni shook the milk tea in her hand. It's not that I owe it to others. I have to do something to feel at ease. Since the exile, we have been relying on you. You have worked too hard. If you want to look after the shop, it's okay, but I have to ask Mother first to see if she agrees. After all, in Tianshan, no unmarried girl has shown her face outside. Although she didn't care, Qin and the old princess might not nod their heads. And your brother, if he doesn't agree, I can't do anything about him. Hyuni's excited mood just now fell to the bottom in an instant. How could she forget that her brother would never agree to let a girl like her look after the shop? After returning home, Shang Ruai told Qin and the old princess everything about Hyuni's plan to visit the shop. As expected, she was rejected outright by Qin and the old princess. Hyuni, I noticed that you are becoming more and more unruly. You haven't even gotten married yet, but you're already showing up in public. How can this be acceptable? The old princess said in a deep voice, you'd better stay in the mansion obediently. That's right, Hyuni, you're still young. How can you watch the shop? Qin said gently, listen to your grandmother, stay in the mansion obediently, and don't make trouble. How did I make trouble? Hyuni pouted, my sister-in-law is only a little older than me. If she can do it, why can't I? Your sister-in-law has been betrothed anyway. Besides, how can you compare with your sister-in-law? The old princess glared at her. If you have half the ability of your sister-in-law, I wouldn't stop you like this. Grandmother, if Hyuni wants to go to the shop, I will pay close attention to her. Shang Ruai said with a smile. That won't work either. At this moment, He Jingheng's voice came over. Actually, there's nothing wrong with letting her go and gain some experience. Hyuni suddenly opened her eyes wide and looked at He Jingheng, who was sitting in a wheelchair at the door. Brother. She never expected that this most difficult brother would actually speak for her today. Ah-Cheng pushed him to the main hall, and the old princess and Qin hurriedly stood up and walked forward, asking with concern, what happened? Where did you get hurt again? It has nothing, Grandma, don't worry. Then why are you sitting in a wheelchair? My grandson met a miracle doctor who said he would help me heal my legs, but I can't exert any force within the next half month, so I have to sit in this wheelchair. So that's how it is, and the two of them were relieved. The miracle doctor you're talking about is a Dr. Jiang? When Qin heard that He Jingheng's legs might recover, she couldn't help but show a look of surprise on her face. In her cognition, Dr. Jiang is the most powerful doctor.
No.
He Jingheng's eyes passed over Shang Ruai's face obscurely, and he smiled. But this miracle doctor's medical skills are far better than that of Dr. Jiang.
Oh?
The old princess asked in surprise. I wonder which miracle doctor it is? This miracle doctor doesn't want me to reveal her name. He Jingheng smiled. Maybe all masters have some quirks. Shang Ruai paused while drinking tea. Quirks? You have a quirk. Shang Ruai glared at He Jingheng, and noticing her gaze, the corners of He Jingheng's lips curled up slightly. Brother, did you just agree that I can go to my sister-in-law's shop to help? Hyuni stepped forward, fearing that they would forget about their own affairs. He Jingheng nodded. I agree. Nonsense. The old princess's face turned cold, and she said to He Jingheng, Jingheng, How come even you are starting to be ignorant? Grandmother. It's not that my grandson is ignorant, but because I heard a sentence recently, maybe our previous thoughts were wrong. What sentence? People can only rely on themselves. He Jingheng suppressed the smile on his face and became serious. During this period of time, my grandson has been thinking about this sentence, whether it is right or wrong. At first, my grandson did not agree, but recently something happened and my grandson felt that this sentence is right. No matter men or women, they should not always hide under the protection of the family. If the family is prosperous, it is naturally good. If the family declines, just like the Dingwa Palace today, if it were not for Ruoi, we would not have the comfortable life today. Shang Ruoi heard the words, and a trace of surprise flashed across the corner of her eyes. I just said it casually at the time, and I didn't expect him to take it so seriously. Grandma, think about it. If Uni gets married in the future, do you want her to have no special skills, only know how to engage in intrigues in the backyard and do embroidery, or do you want her to be like Ruoi? He Jingheng's words made the old princess and Qin fall into deep thought. For so many years, they have never been taught to rely on themselves, but to rely on their family and fathers and brothers. When the family is prosperous, they have glory on their faces. If the family is declining, they can only be humble. The old princess set her eyes on Shang Ruoi, and her mind became clear instantly. Yes. Although Shang Ruoi is a concubine's daughter, who in the family is dissatisfied now. Perhaps they have been wrong for so many years. She thought about it and said to Shang Ruoi, "Child, since Jingheng said so, why not let Ruoi follow you? Don't worry, Grandma, I will definitely take good care of her." Okay. Hiyuni was overjoyed to hear her grandmother give in. Grandmother, mother, don't worry, I will never cause trouble to my sister-in-law. The next day, Shang Ruoi brought her to the shop. Now the shop is fully prepared and will open in 2 days. When she came today, she brought Laoli with her. Milk tea and snacks made from milk are also sold at the same time. Don't worry, young lady, I have practiced the fried milk to perfection. Then I will leave the kitchen to you. That day, she brought the milk tea and a few plates of snacks to Tangxiangju. As soon as she got off the carriage, Qian Yang came to meet her. What have you been busy with these days? He smiled and said, I heard that your shop seems to be opening soon, and I have even prepared a gift for you. Shang Ruoi handed her the food box. I promised my sister that I would make it for you to try. The food box was covered with a lid, but the fragrance still couldn't stop coming out. The diners who were eating in her shop stretched their necks to look into the food box. Qian Yang opened the food box and a rich aroma wafted out.
Oh,
why is there such a fragrant aroma? I am in for a treat today. As long as you like it, sister. Come upstairs with me. I want to taste it carefully. Just as she was about to turn around, she heard the diner next to her couldn't help asking, Boss, what's in the food box that this young lady gave you? It is a rare delicacy. Qian Yang's beautiful eyes moved, and she smiled and said, The shop of the girl next to me is about to open. If you have time, you must go and support it. What's the name of the girl's shop? Shang Ruoi smiled and said, Life is like a dream. Following Qian Yang to the room on the second floor, Shang Ruoi smiled and said, Sister, you have deceived me so much. When Qian Yang heard her say this, the smile on her face froze, and she instantly understood the meaning of her words and hurriedly bowed. Please calm down, Crown Princess. Shang Ruoi couldn't help laughing when she saw this, and walked forward to help her up. There is no prince's consort here. I have a sincere friendship with my sister. It's just Shang Ruoi who is standing here. Seeing that she didn't really blame her, Qian Yang slowly let go of her heart. Without the master's permission, Qian Yang dare not reveal her identity privately. Shang Ruoi knew this. It doesn't matter, sister, just be like usual. Qian Yang sat on the chair with a little trepidation. As soon as she sat down, she heard Shang Ruoi say, Sister, try it quickly. Is this milk tea? She has heard many people mention this thing recently. After taking a sip, her eyes widened instantly. Even though Tangxiangju has enough delicacies, she is still shocked by this milk tea.
Try this.
Qian Yang put the fried milk in her mouth and was stunned again. Princess Consort, is your shop still hiring?
How about me?
Shang Rui couldn't help laughing and said, Sister, don't you want the shop anymore? Qian Yang took another sip and happened to a mouthful of pearls. I don't want the shop anymore. I'll follow the prince's consort. If you like it, just send someone to the shop to get it every day. At this time, Su Zimo pushed the door open and said loudly, Qian Yang, I heard that you got a box of delicious food, so I came to taste it. The moment he saw Shang Rui, he immediately covered his face with a fan. Well, I went to the wrong room. The wrong room. Shang Rui raised her eyebrows slightly, looked at the man who was about to cover his face and escape, and said with a smile, Young master, we meet again. Su Zimo smiled dryly. Oh, isn't this the young lady of the He Mansion? I hope you are well. I suddenly remembered that I still have some things to do, so I'll leave first. Su Zimo turned around and left quickly. After he left, Shang Rui looked at Qian Yang. Sister, I have some things to do in the shop, so I'll leave first. As soon as she arrived at the shop, she saw several servants carrying a plaque coming over. Life is like a dream, in red lacquer and gold characters. The pen and ink are originally unintentional, and the style is fully displayed on the white paper. She had seen He Jinghing's calligraphy before, and even though she had seen so many calligraphy and paintings by famous calligraphers, her eyes still lit up. She mentioned to him a few days ago that she wanted him to write a plaque, but she didn't expect it to be delivered today. Hang it up. Okay. The news that the He family shop was about to open soon reached Zhao Junyi's ears. I didn't expect them to be so quick. He frowned and said sinisterly, How dare you plot against me secretly? Just wait and see. My lord, what do you need me to do? Zhao Junyi waved at him and whispered a few words to him. My lord, just wait and see. As soon as the servant left, a woman walked out from the shadows. Zhao Junyi was startled. You are. Waste, you haven't done what the master asked you to do yet. What's the point of keeping you? The woman wore a veil, but from her exposed eyes, it could be seen that she was an exotic woman. Seeing this, Zhao Junyi stood up from his chair and bowed, saying, Your Excellency, the envoy. Humph. The woman stepped forward, stretched out her hand and grabbed his neck. Useless people don't deserve to live in this world. Cough, cough, cough. Zhao Junyi's face flushed, his breathing was not smooth, and he squeezed out a few words from his teeth with difficulty. Envoy, give me another chance. Just when he was about to die, the woman slowly loosened her hand. Zhao Junyi fell to the ground, holding his neck and retching. This is the last time. If you can't do it again, I will send you to see the king of. As soon as the words fell, there was a sound at the window, and the woman's figure slowly disappeared into the night. He sat on the ground weakly, with a fierce look in his eyes. Finally, it was the day when Fusheng Ruomeng opened. People lined up at the door early in the morning. This is made of milk, and milk is a precious thing that can't be eaten casually. Even if it costs 1 or 2 silver taels, I must buy a cup, not to mention that they also give such beautiful glass cups and snacks. Xiaoyao opened the door and was shocked to see so many people standing at the door. Miss, your Fusheng Ruomeng is opening today, right? Xiaoyao nodded. Yes. She didn't expect that there would be so many people queuing for a drink that costs 1 or 2 silver taels. Her young lady is really amazing. At this time, Shang Rui came out with Hiyuni and said with a smile, Today we are opening Fusheng Ruomeng. Thank you for coming to support us. Customers who enter the store today will be given a snack regardless of whether they consume or not. Everyone was surprised when they heard this. Whether you buy or not, you can get a snack. Shang Rui nodded. Yes. Is the shopkeeper framing us? Whether I am true or not, you will know when you come in. Everyone rushed in after hearing this. As soon as they entered, they were attracted by the rich, milky fragrance. It smelled more tempting than outside. People who originally just wanted to get cakes couldn't resist the taste of milk tea and took out money to buy one. In such cold weather, drinking a cup of hot milk tea is so comfortable. They couldn't help but sigh. This is a delicacy that only gods can eat. More and more people came to hear the sound, and the queue was already 100 meters long. Many shopkeepers on the street saw this scene and envied it. Sister-in-law. He looked at the customers in the shop and couldn't help but exclaim, "This is too exaggerated." Shang Ruai smiled. "This is only the first day, and there will be more and more customers in the future." He nodded. Yes, with such a delicious food, she wanted to drink it from morning to night, not to mention others. At this time, there was a commotion at the door. "Did you see it? What's wrong with this person? Is he poisoned? It's terrible." Shang Ruai's lips curled slightly. She knew that someone would come to make trouble. Just as she was about to go out to take a look, she heard a man's voice. "The owner of Fu Sheng Ru Meng, get out of here. The things in your shop are poisonous." Poisonous? The people in the queue couldn't help but change their faces when they heard it. "The things in the shop are poisonous. They must not buy them." Shang Rui walked out, stood on the steps, and looked down at the man who kept shouting. "Sir, have you thought about the consequences of causing trouble in my Fu Sheng Ru Meng?" The man heard her say that, and disdain flashed in his eyes. "How dare you say such things? My brother got poisoned after eating something from your shop. What do you say?" The man snorted coldly and said, "I tell you, if you don't give us an explanation today, I will drag you to see the official." "Explanation? What explanation do you want?" Shang Ruai walked down the steps and walked slowly to the man. "Let me hear you. 500 taels. Detoxify my brother, otherwise, you don't have to open the shop." He glared, took a step forward, raised his fist, and tried to make her surrender out of fear. Shang Ruai snorted coldly, stretched out her hand directly, grabbed his arm, turned quickly, and threw the man to the ground with a clean shoulder throw, raising a cloud of dust. Hiss. "This woman looks thin and weak, but I didn't expect her to have such great strength and be so agile and nimble." The man covered his chest and coughed for a long time. He stood up with the help of the wall. He pointed at Shang Ruai. You dare to hit me? What's wrong with hitting you? Didn't you start to hit me first?" Shang Ruai looked around. "Everyone is a witness. Even if the officials came, I would say the same thing. You, a grown man, hit a weak woman like me. Don't you allow people to fight back?" Everyone nodded when they heard it. They all agreed with every word she said, except for one sentence, which was a little difficult to agree with. Weak woman. She actually said that she was a weak woman. It was too scary that all the weak women in the world looked like her. The man's face turned pale, but after seeing her skills, he knew that he was not her opponent. He didn't dare to act rashly. He winked at the people in the crowd, and heard the voices of several people in the crowd. "I've never seen such a domineering woman. The food in her shop was poisonous, but she not only didn't apologize or compensate, but she even dared to fight in the street. It's really unheard of." That's right. People got sick on the first day of their shop. There must be something wrong with the food. Milk is so expensive, but she made it into snacks and gave it away for free. How can such a good thing happen in the world? There must be something fishy. When the people in the queue heard this, their minds began to waver. Yes, no one is stupid enough to give away such an expensive item for free. He heard this at the door and couldn't help but get furious. She walked forward quickly and said angrily, "I have never seen people as shameless as you. You just frame others without any evidence." "Huh, you say we framed you? Then produce evidence to prove your innocence." A man sneered. "Otherwise, you will have to admit the crime." Shang Ruai sneered. "I don't have any evidence, but I can still prove my innocence." He walked to the man lying on the ground, squatted down, put his hand on his wrist. After a while, she stood up, took the handkerchief handed by Xiaoyao, wiped her hands, and said with a smile, "This is really a difficult and complicated disease." The person who was hiding in the crowd and making trouble sneered, "You want to get rid of us with a difficult and complicated disease?" Before he could finish, he was interrupted by Shang Ruai in a cold voice. "However, I like to treat difficult and complicated diseases the most." She said to Xiaoyao, "Get my medicine box." "Yes." Hearing that she was going to use the medicine box, a woman asked softly, "Does the shopkeeper know medicine?" "Yes." Shang Ruai took out the silver needles from the medicine box, picked the thickest one from it, and a cold light flashed in her eyes. Not only understand, but master it. "What?" She said she was proficient in medicine? Several people who were making trouble looked at each other, and they all saw a trace of panic in each other's eyes. Shang Ruai held the silver needle and whispered, "This thickest silver needle has been used to treat Lord Zhao's illness, and now the disease has been cured. This treatment method has no side effects except pain, but this pain is not something that ordinary people can bear. However, he is unconscious now and should not feel it. He will wake up after a few needles." After she finished speaking, she glanced at the man lying on the ground, only to see that his face turned pale and his lips were trembling slightly. "Humph, are you scared like this? How can you stop here?" She said to the servants behind her, "Take off his shoes and pierce the soles of his feet with the silver needle." "What? Pierce the soles of his feet? How can he survive?" The man wanted to jump up immediately. "At this moment," she said, "and take off his hat." A person who was watching asked in confusion, "Why do you want to take off the hat?" When she smiled, and a low voice sounded, "Because I want to pierce the silver needle on my head." The man was so scared when he heard it that he opened his eyes instantly, just in time to see the finger-long silver needle in her hand that was 10 times thicker than an embroidery needle, and the sinister smile she gave him. He was so scared that he shouted loudly, "No, I don't want treatment." Shang Ruai raised the corner of her lips with a sneer. "Didn't you get poisoned? How could the poison be cured so quickly? I don't need you to treat me. I don't need you to detoxify me." He rolled and crawled behind the man who came with him. "You just need to compensate me with silver." Seeing the scene, what else did the onlookers not understand? This man was clearly here to cause trouble and extort money. "That won't do. Don't worry. If you are really poisoned, I will not only pay you money, but I will also help you detoxify." Shang Ruai showed her silver needle. "Just use the silver needle." The man's hands couldn't stop shaking. Seeing Shang Ruai walking towards him, he couldn't help but shout, "I'm not poisoned." "I lied to you." "Lie to me?" "Yes, I'm not poisoned." "Then I can't let you leave." She waved her hand. "Tie them up and send them to the government."
Yes.
Several servants came forward. The two of them wanted to fight with Shang Ruai's men with their mediocre skills, but they were knocked to the ground in just 2 moves and couldn't move. The servants in the shop were not ordinary servants. They were all secret guards carefully selected by He Jingheng. After a while, several yamen runners came over and took the two away. Shang Ruai looked at the 2 men who left with a fearless look, and she had a plan in her mind. It seems that the mastermind behind the 2 of them is not ordinary, perhaps an acquaintance. She retracted her gaze and said to the people in line with a smile, "Don't worry, any food made by us is absolutely safe. Not only that, our milk tea can also prolong life." Prolong life? How can a drink have the effect of prolonging life? Shang Ruai added spiritual spring water to the water that the cows drank. The milk produced by the cows contains the nutrients in the spiritual spring, which will naturally have the effect of prolonging life. Whether I said it is true or not, you will understand after drinking a cup. Facts speak louder than words. Shang Ruai smiled and walked into the shop. Hearing her say this, people's eyes lit up. If this milk tea is really as she said, then selling it for 1 or 2 silver is really too cheap. Not only did the number of people in line not decrease due to this farce, but it increased instead. A few people hiding in the crowd left quietly when they saw that things were failing. They thought their actions were unnoticed, but they didn't want to fall into the eyes of a man. He Jingheng said to Yunqi behind him, "Send someone to follow them and see who is so bold as to set his sights on her."
Yes.
Seeing this, Su Zimo couldn't help but smile and said, I didn't expect it. You, He Jingheng, are so annoying."
Ha.
"It's just a shop opening, and it's worth your trouble." He Jingheng picked up the glass cup on the table and took a sip of the milk tea in it. "You don't understand." "What don't you understand?" "You are a lonely person, so naturally you don't understand." Hearing this, Su Zimo's face darkened several degrees, gritted his teeth, and said, "I don't understand. Only you understand, you understand." He didn't know who was the reason why he couldn't get a wife. He never knew that making money was so hard. It was almost dark when all the things in the shop were sold out, and she only ate a few snacks all day. She rubbed her calf and said bitterly, "Sister-in-law, I'm afraid my legs are not my own anymore. Do you still want to continue working in the shop? Shang Ruai smiled and said, it may be much harder in the future than it is now. Yes. Hyuni said firmly, this is the first time I earn money by myself. She asked excitedly, sister-in-law, how much is the monthly salary in this shop? 3 taels of silver. How much? Hyuni was surprised. 3 taels of silver? Just that little? The Inghua sisters were also equally surprised. There are actually 3 taels of silver? So much? Hyuni said that when the sister said this, she almost thought that her ears were broken. Xiaoyao saw her unbelievable look and explained with a smile, in this town, 3 taels of silver is already a very high wage. 3 taels of silver, is that too much? This undoubtedly shocked Hyuni. In the past, she would spend more than 3 taels on a meal in a restaurant in the capital. You haven't really seen the sufferings of this world. Shang Ruai touched her head, smiled, and said, you've worked hard today. When I go back home tonight, I will definitely praise you to your brother. Thank you, sister-in-law. Back at the He mansion, the old princess looked at Hyuni with some heartache and pulled her to her side. Are you tired?
No.
Hyuni told the old princess and Qin everything that happened today. Really? Someone came to make trouble? Hyuni nodded. Yes, fortunately my sister-in-law is smart and saw through their plan in no time. Otherwise, who knows what would happen today? When mentioning Shang Ruai, Hyuni's eyes lit up and she said proudly, sister-in-law is so amazing. Then you should learn more from your sister-in-law. If you have the same ability as your sister-in-law, I will not worry about you getting married in the future. The old princess took a bite of the dessert and said lightly, with Ruai and our He family, I can rest assured 100 years later.
Grandma.
Hyuni heard her say this, and hurriedly said, Grandma will live 100 years. Silly child. Everyone will die one day. I have been prepared for it. The old princess smiled and said, I thought I would die on the road of exile. Ruai saved me after I fell ill many times. Now I seem to be in good health, but Grandma is old and will return to dust eventually. Jingheng's words that day woke Grandma up. People have to rely on themselves to go a long way. When I can't protect you, you have to rely on yourselves. Qin said softly. Ruai probably said this to him. The old princess nodded. It's no wonder that our He family has been loyal for generations. We are blessed by our ancestors to have Ruai as our daughter-in-law. Hyuni thought for a while and said, sister-in-law is really different from all of us. She knows a lot of things that I have never even heard of. Don't talk about you. Even I haven't heard of it. The old princess smiled. She has lived to my age, but her knowledge is not as much as the younger generation. People will laugh at her if I tell others about it. Sister-in-law said that her mother taught her. Speaking of her mother, the old princess' eyes flickered, but she didn't speak. At night, Shang Ruai had just fallen asleep when she heard the door creak open. He Jingheng came in on a wheelchair. After not seeing each other for a few days, Shang Ruai smiled and said, why did you suddenly come back today? He Jingheng's face looked a little ugly. The people who came to make trouble today were sent by Zhao Junyi. Making trouble today? You mean you are here to extort money? Yeah. Shang Ruai didn't expect that he would pay attention to these things. I guessed it was him. All he has in his mind is money. No one else dares to ask for 500 taels except him. He Jingheng frowned even deeper when he saw her indifferent look. Don't worry, I have my own way to deal with him. A light flashed in Shang Ruai's eyes. It won't be long before he will come to me crying and beg me. Seeing her like this, He Jingheng was both happy and helpless. He was naturally happy that she was capable and scheming, but he felt frustrated with her again and again. All along, she seemed to not need him at all, but he couldn't leave her. Now not only he couldn't leave her, but the whole He family couldn't leave her. Just when he was lost in thought, a faint fragrance entered his nose. He saw Shang Ruai squatting in front of his legs without knowing when. She focused her eyes on the leg that was going to be operated on. She pinched it from time to time. His throat rolled unconsciously a few times, and the skin touched by her fingers seemed to be burned by flames. But when her hand moved away from her leg, He felt a sense of emptiness again. This kind of ice and fire is really a sweet torture. Finally, Shang Rui finished the examination, stood up, and there was a hint of surprise in her voice. I didn't expect that your leg has recovered so well. It won't take half a month, and you can have surgery at any time. Normally, he should be very happy to hear such news, but He Jingheng was lowering his head slightly at this time, without any reaction. What's wrong? Aren't you happy that I can heal your legs? He still didn't respond. Shang Ruai was about to go forward to see what was going on, when she saw him quickly turn the wheelchair around and push it out the door. When he reached the door, his slightly hoarse voice came, I still have things to do. You take a rest first. Shang Ruai nodded in confusion, looked at his departing back, and said secretly, It's inexplicable. He Jingheng came to the yard, took a few deep breaths, and recited the heart purification mantra several times before he could barely suppress the evil fire in his body. Unexpectedly, after so many years of keeping his mind pure and desires abstinent, he almost couldn't control himself today. He smiled bitterly, and this time he was really in trouble. What did you say? Zhao Junyi looked at the guard in front of him and threw the teacup in his hand on his head. The man's head was bleeding instantly. If you can't even handle a woman, what's the point of keeping you? The guard was so scared that he dared not breathe and lowered his head and said, Sir, who could have expected that woman to be so cunning that she didn't even frown in front of so many people? Are you a pig? She knows medical skills, but you're just rushing into her blade. Aren't you seeking death? Zhao Junyi said hatefully, A bunch of trash. Get out. When the guard heard this, he felt as if he had been pardoned and hurried out. Zhao Junyi scratched his neck twice, and the pain and itchiness he had felt recently came back. Little. He scratched his neck a few more times, and suddenly a pain came over him. He felt that there was something on his hand. Looking closely, it was actually a small piece of flesh. Hiss. He looked at the flesh on his hand in shock, and felt that he had no strength at all. He suddenly thought of what Shang Ruai had said before. If the poison was not treated, the flesh on his body would fall off piece by piece. He thought she was trying to scare him, but it turned out to be true. How could he care about anything else? He crawled out of the room. The guard had not gone far yet, and when he saw Zhao Junyi rushing towards him, he thought he was coming to kill him, and he was so scared that he almost wet his pants. Zhao Junyi walked past him and went straight to the He family. At this time, Shang Ruai had already fallen asleep. As soon as Zhao Junyi arrived at the door of the He family, two strong men stopped him. Who? At this time, a piece of flesh fell off his body, and blood stained his neck red, looking extremely terrifying. How dare you? I am the official here. Why don't you get out of the way? Zhao Junyi said angrily. Bring out that woman Shang Ruai. Our young lady has already fallen asleep. If you have anything, please come back tomorrow. Tomorrow? In such a short time, 2 pieces of flesh have already fallen off. If he waits until tomorrow morning, he will become a pile of bones. No.
Now.
Bring her to her quickly. Otherwise, I will punish you. Zhao Junyi's shout startled the He family. At this time, the sound of wheels rolling came, and Cheng pushed He Jingheng to the door. Zhao Junyi saw He Jingheng and subconsciously lowered his voice. Even the governor Zhang Wenyu was like a mouse seeing a cat when he saw him, let alone him. What's the commotion about? Master, it's the dead of night, and Lord Zhao insists on seeing our young lady. The guard at the gate said, I'm worried that the young lady's reputation will be damaged, so I stopped Lord Zhao from entering. Seeing that He Jingheng's face was a little gloomy, Zhao Junyi hurriedly said, I really have a reason not to see you. He took out the flesh of his palm. I have a strange disease, and only she can cure it now. At this moment, Shang Ruai came over with a cloak, covered He Jingheng's legs with a cloak, and whispered, You really don't want to keep this leg. Hiss. Who gave her the courage to talk to He Jingheng like this? The secret guards who were guarding in the dark couldn't help but be frightened when they heard it. The prince's wife spoke to her master in a scolding tone, and she was probably going to be thrown out of the yard by her master. What's more, some of them were already thinking about how to deal with Shang Ruai, who was thrown out. I thought He Jingheng would be angry, but He just touched his nose and said nothing. Were they dazzled? How come they saw a hint of enjoyment on their master's face? Shang Ruai set her eyes on Zhao Junyi, who looked anxious. What are you doing here so late at night? Zhao Junyi said hurriedly, I found that some flesh and skin on my body was falling off today. He spread out his palms. Shang Ruai took a look and said lightly, this is a sign of severe poisoning. Zhao Junyi almost lost his balance when he heard this. Serious poisoning, how severe is it? If you don't get treatment, you will probably only have a few days to live. Shang Ruai smiled. Are you done asking questions, sir? I'm going to rest after that. Wait. He was about to pull her sleeve when he felt a murderous aura coming towards him. Zhao Junyi quickly withdrew his hand and smiled awkwardly. Miss Shang, you see, you were the one who treated my illness before, and it's not well yet. I wonder if Miss Shang is willing to help. Shang Ruai sneered when she heard that. Didn't the Lord say that you are well now and don't need me anymore? I didn't recognize you before. If I have offended you, please forgive me, Miss Shang. Shang Ruai couldn't help but feel sick when she saw his humble appearance. I'm afraid it will be more painful to treat it now than before. 1 injection was enough before, but now it takes 3 injections. 3 injections? In the past, 1 injection almost killed him. Wouldn't 3 injections kill him directly? But there was no other way at the moment, so he nodded and said, as long as it can be cured, anything is fine. Shang Ruai nodded, her lips curled slightly, but this time, I'm afraid I can't treat you for nothing. I'm sure you know that I opened a sweet soup shop in the county town, and I'm very busy every day. Every time I give you acupuncture, it will affect the business of the shop. How could Zhao Junyi not understand what she said? But even if it hurts, it's better than losing your life. I'll pay the silver. 100 taels each time. 100 taels? Zhao Junyi screamed. Do you think the silver is more important than your life? Her words shut Zhao Junyi up. He wanted to slap himself hard at this moment. At first, he didn't charge for each injection, but now he has to pay for 3 injections. Isn't this just asking for trouble? But what other options does he have at the moment? Save your life first. Thinking of this, he nodded. Okay, 100 taels is 100 taels. He took out a silver note of 100 taels from his arms and handed it to her. Let's start acupuncture today. Shang Ruai waved her hand, and Xiaoyao handed her the thickest silver needle. After a few screams, Zhao Junyi sat on the steps of the He family, with his whole body weak. Shang Ruai glanced at him and said to the servant at the door, Send Lord Zhao back.
Yes.
Zhao Junyi's figure went away. Shang Ruai turned to He Jingheng and said, It's cold today. If you still want this leg, find a cloak to cover it every time you go out.
Got it.
He Jingheng smiled, and the secret guards on both sides were stunned. Is the master possessed by something? He was scolded by the prince's wife and still laughed. She yawned, and just as she was about to turn back, her wrist was held by a warm big hand. What's wrong? Seeing her tired look, he swallowed his words that he wanted her to go to the other courtyard to see Hyun. Nothing. Go to bed early. Shang Ruai nodded and returned to the room. Seeing the door closed, He Jingheng set his eyes on Ah Chung behind him. Did the crown princess bring anyone back when she went to Shanheng? Ah Cheng's nerves stood up when he heard this. The crown prince asked this, he must have known something. But he did not forget what the crown princess said. My lord, the crown princess did not bring anyone back. He Jingheng glanced at him and sneered. You are loyal. Hearing him say this, Ah Cheng's legs went limp with fear. My lord. Forget it, since I gave you to her. You must be loyal to her. He Jingheng said coldly. Be careful of the man named Ling Feng. Yes, I understand. He Jingheng narrowed his eyes slightly. He had never heard of the name Ling Feng, but when he accidentally saw the man's profile that day, he was surprisingly familiar with it. At this time, Ling Feng was sitting on a tree, looking in the direction of the He family, raising the wine pot, and taking a sip. He Jingheng, it's been 5 years, and we finally meet again. He poured the remaining wine on the ground, his eyes full of hatred. Every day for so many years, I have been thinking about how to skin you alive, but even skinning you alive can't relieve the hatred in my heart. At this moment, A figure appeared behind him. An old voice sounded, "Young master." Ling Feng jumped down from the tree and asked in a low voice, "What happened?" "Young master is really as good as a god. Our people found that someone has been following He Jinghe in secret. I don't know whether it is surveillance or protection." Ling Feng sneered. "What's the difference? Whether it's surveillance or protection, it's all about keeping him alive, right?" Then, according to what the young master said, "What should we do? He Jinghe wants him to live, just to let more people know that the ring was stolen. We might as well give him a hand. Have you found him?" Concubine Zhao pressed her temple and said tiredly, "Not yet." Bishi whispered, "Our people have been around the mountains for several times, but this person seems to have disappeared. No one can see him alive or dead." Concubine Zhao couldn't help but get angry. Dozens of people can't even keep an insignificant person at bay. What's the point of coming? "My queen, many forces now know that it was He Jinghe who stole the ring from the Dingwa Palace. Now even the western regions are beginning to get restless. We must find He Jinghe before they do. The ring must not fall into the hands of others, especially foreigners. It is said that the Dingwa Palace has its own army, and the ring is a token of command for the army. As the wolf soldiers of Tianshan, the Dingwa Palace has always been feared by other countries. When some small countries heard that it was the Dingwa Palace, they fled without fighting. You can imagine how fierce this army is." Bishi looked at Concubine Zhao, and she felt very conflicted. His Royal Highness the Crown Prince had already become suspicious of the Queen. She was under surveillance every day. If she said something she shouldn't have, she would be killed by the Crown Prince the next day. Thinking of this, Bishi had to keep her mouth shut. It was just that she had changed from the concubine's confidant to the Crown Prince's confidant. As long as His Royal Highness the Crown Prince didn't do anything to hurt the concubine, it wouldn't be considered a betrayal if she told the Crown Prince what the concubine had done. Bishi convinced herself over and over again, and finally wiped away the guilt. "Send more people, and we must find He Jinghe."
Yes.
Concubine Zhao was half lying on the couch, covered with a thin blanket. She was a little drowsy when she heard the sharp voice of the outside. "The Emperor has arrived." Hearing this, Concubine Zhao sat up straight. Why did the Emperor come at this time? She hurried to greet him. "Your Majesty, I pay my respects to you. May your Majesty be blessed with good health. Please stand up, my beloved concubine." Emperor Tianshan helped Concubine Zhao up, her face somewhat gloomy. "What's wrong with your Majesty?" Concubine Zhao winked at Bishi, who hurried down to prepare tea and snacks. The Emperor sighed and said faintly, "There were many troubles in the previous dynasty, and only my beloved concubine's pipa can soothe my heart." Upon hearing this, Concubine Zhao ordered someone to bring up the pipa. She smiled charmingly. "Your Majesty, I still remember that the Emperor couldn't walk after listening to my pipa."
Yes.
Emperor Tianshan smiled. "My beloved concubine is beautiful and has a great skill in pipa. How can I not favor her?" Concubine Zhao smiled, put her hand on the pipa, and lowered her eyes to hide the irony in her eyes. "Favor? Haha. The Emperor is heartless, and how can a heartless person really favor a woman? Which of these women in the Emperor's harem is not his pet? If there is anyone who can get his true heart, it is probably only the Queen. But what if she is the Queen? Isn't she a waste who can't give birth to a son? If she can't get the Emperor's heart, then she will plot other things. Power. Only the supreme power can make her feel really at ease." Her fingers moved slightly, and the pleasant sound of the pipa sounded. Emperor Tianshan squinted his eyes in enjoyment. After an unknown amount of time, the sound of even breathing sounded. Concubine Zhao stopped the movement of her fingers. She walked slowly to his side, looked at the profile of Emperor Tianshan, and raised the corners of her lips slightly. In order to get the Emperor's favor, she also used all means like those young concubines who have just entered the palace. Now, when she sat on the position of concubine, she found out that whether the Emperor really likes it, what does it matter? At this moment, a hurried in from outside the door. Seeing that he was sleeping, he stamped his feet anxiously. Emperor Tianshan was a light sleeper, and he opened his eyes unhappily when he heard the sound. Looking at the young, he said angrily, Can't you be gentler? Your Majesty, something terrible has happened. Emperor Tianshun frowned. What's wrong?
Plague.
The plague is coming.
What?
Emperor Tianshun sat up suddenly and said loudly, What did you say? Several adults are waiting for you in the imperial study. He walked out without looking back. Concubine Zhao frowned and said to Bishi, Hurry up and inform the prince to think of countermeasures.
Yes.
He Lingxing had received the news a long time ago and came to the imperial study at this time. Emperor Tianshun looked at one memorial after another and was so angry that he smashed several teacups. How dare you conceal such a big thing until now? Now that you can't cover it up anymore, you report it. What were you doing before? You deceived your superiors and subordinates. You really deserve to be killed. Emperor Tianshun said angrily, Drag out all the people on the memorial and behead them.
Yes.
Shangmian stood aside and said softly, Your Majesty, please calm down. You must not let your body get sick from anger. Emperor Tianshun had disliked him for a long time, and when he opened his mouth, Emperor Tianshun directly vented his anger on him. You still have the nerve to stand in the imperial study. I wish I could drag you out with those people and behead you. Upon hearing this, Shangmian hurriedly knelt on the ground. Your Majesty, please calm down, calm down. Emperor Tianshun glanced at him. Then you tell me, what should we do about this plague? He Lingxing thought for a while and said in a deep voice, This plague is coming fiercely. It must be related to the famine some time ago. In my opinion, we should first send people to the epidemic area to control the plague and prevent it from spreading. At the same time, we should open the national treasury to provide disaster relief. Only in this way can we quickly solve the plague and prevent it from spreading. Once it spreads to the capital, it will be troublesome. Your Highness, the Crown Prince is right. I second your opinion. I also second your opinion. Emperor Tianshun nodded and said to Shangmian, who was kneeling on the ground, Just do as the Crown Prince said. Do you understand, Shang Aiqing? Shangmian's back stiffened when he heard this. He never thought that the emperor would actually give this matter to him. The plague is not like other things. If you are infected, you will definitely die. Seeing that he did not answer, Emperor Tianshun said angrily, Could it be that your beloved Shang wants to disobey the order? I dare not. Shangmian said with a stiff face, I obey the order. Shang Ruai also got the news about the plague. He Jingheng frowned. What's going on? How could the plague suddenly break out? Shang Ruai was wearing a mask and was taking He Yuan's pulse. When she heard about the plague, the first thing that came to her mind was the villagers she met on the way to exile. Due to years of drought, the crops were barren, and the bodies of people who died of thirst and starvation rotted. Over time, viruses would appear and slowly form a plague. In the past life, people could develop corresponding medicines according to the type of virus, but here, medical care is backward, and no one knows how many people will die every time a plague breaks out. Sir, the worst hit area right now is Liangzhou. The city gates of Liangzhou have been blocked. It seems that the imperial court wants to kill all the people in that city. He Jingheng frowned and said in a deep voice, Who is the imperial envoy sent by the imperial court to be in charge of disaster relief this time? Yunqi's eyes passed through Shang Ruai obscurely and he whispered, It's Prime Minister Shangmian. As soon as he finished speaking, he heard Shang Ruai sneer, Is Emperor Tianshun blind? He actually sent that idiot to provide disaster relief. Yunqi. Princess, Shangmian is your biological father after all. Is it really okay for you to say that? Send someone to keep an eye on the movement over there. Yes, Prince. Yunqi was about to turn around and leave when he was stopped by Shang Ruai.
Wait.
What does Master Ling Jun want? Shang Ruai took out 2 porcelain bottles and handed them to him. Eat one.
Huh?
If you eat this, you won't be prone to plague. Shang Ruai coughed. There is a 90% chance that you won't get it, but if you spend all day among the dead, I can't be sure. Yunqi was shocked when he heard this. There was such a powerful pill. Plague is different from other diseases and is highly contagious. In her previous life, Shang Ruai had experienced many global epidemic outbreaks. She developed many pills in the laboratory and finally developed this universal pill that can resist most infectious viruses. It has been kept in her laboratory. Unexpectedly, it was used this time when she traveled through time. He Jingheng looked at the porcelain bottle in Yunqi's hand. His eyes flashed slightly. Thank you, Master Ling Jun. Yunqi took the porcelain bottle and walked out excitedly. Shang Ruai continued to feel He Yuan's pulse, looked at his organs again, and sighed. It hasn't recovered yet. He Jingheng nodded. He was mentally prepared from the beginning that his father would never recover. What is the pill in that porcelain bottle? He Jingheng couldn't help asking. It is used to block the spread of the virus. Virus? What is that?
Well,
Shang Ruai smiled and said, it's what you call the plague. I like to call it a virus. Virus. He Jingheng murmured, a kind of poison that makes people sick. Haha, you are right. You can understand it that way. So, if you take that pill, you won't be infected?
yeah.
Shang Ruai nodded. Most of the plagues in ancient times were caused by the decay of corpses. Compared with the man-made viruses in the previous life, this virus is not worth mentioning at all. Therefore, this pill can basically guarantee that people who take it will not be infected. Thank you. Shang Ruai shook her head. You're welcome. I'm also protecting myself. If someone around you gets the plague, what if it is transmitted to you? He Jingheng felt warm in his heart when he heard it. That's it. But his feeling of being touched did not last long, as he heard her continue to say, if you infect the people in the exile land again, how tiring will it be for me to treat them? TSK. He Jingheng's heart sank. Did this woman have to say the second half of the sentence? Shang Ruai took out a porcelain bottle and handed it to him. There are 2 pills in total, 1 per day. I will perform surgery on you the day after tomorrow. He Jingheng was slightly excited when he heard this. However, he did not show any emotion on his face. Okay. Shang Ruai came to the shop and found that the queue had extended to the entrance of Tianxiangju. She had no choice but to get off the carriage. When Qianyang saw her, she smiled and said, Sister, your business is so good that I am a little jealous. Shang Ruai smiled and said, Sister, just send someone to the shop to get whatever you want to drink. Qianyang walked up to her and said in a voice that only the 2 of them could hear, This morning I saw 2 people hanging around in front of your shop for a long time. They seemed to be from the tea house on another street. Tea house, Tianqi Tea House. Qianyang's voice was slightly deep. The shopkeeper of their shop is a well-known bully in this county. His brother-in-law is an official in the capital, so he has something to rely on. The previous shopkeeper of the shop you bought was bullied by him countless times. So that's it. The shopkeeper said that his son made money in the capital, which might be true, but more likely it was because he was squeezed out and could not continue his business. Thank you for your reminder, sister. Just then, there was a commotion in the crowd. Why can't you move forward for so long? What's going on in front? Shang Ruai hurried to the shop. As soon as she entered the shop, she heard a crisp sound of glass. A cup of steaming milk tea was thrown to the ground.
Bah.
You still have the nerve to ask for 1 or 2 taels of silver for such a bad drink. He turned and said to the people behind him, How many buns can you buy with 1 or 2 taels of silver? Selling them so expensively is simply making money with a dirty mind. He thought his words would incite many people, but they didn't. People looked at him with disapproval. If you don't like it, get out of the way. I still need to buy some. A girl whispered, Get out of the way quickly. From her dress, you can tell that she is a maid from a wealthy family. He didn't expect that after he said this, no one behind him agreed. Miss, that's 1 tael of silver. What's wrong with 1 tael of silver? She took out 4 taels of silver and handed it to Ing Xiwei on the counter and handed over a basket with 5 glass bottles in it. Please pack 5 bottles for me. 5 bottles? She turned her head and looked at the man. The young ladies in our family like to drink it. Not to mention 1 or 2 taels of silver, even 5 taels of silver is worth it. Besides, every time I drink milk tea, I feel refreshed and very comfortable. I have this feeling too. A woman said, I had a constant headache a few days ago. Since I drank milk tea, I feel very comfortable every day. Shang Ruai smiled. Our drinks and snacks at Fusheng Ruomeng have some longevity effects. You can buy them with confidence. 1 or 2 taels of silver is definitely worth it. She looked at the man again and said with a smile, Your Excellency, go back and tell your master that it is best not to come here to make trouble, otherwise I will not be polite. As soon as the words fell, a servant came forward, picked up his collar, and threw him out. He got up from the ground, patted the dust off his body, and hurried to the back street.
What?
Thrown out? A man holding a string of beads in his hand said with a dark face. Did she say those words herself? Yes, shopkeeper, in my opinion. She clearly knew that I was sent by you. Haha, this girl is young, but she is very brave.
Send someone to check who she is.
Yes. The servant rubbed his painful face, rolled his eyes, and said with a sly smile, However, shopkeeper, that girl is really attractive. You will definitely like her when you see her. That little face is so tender that you can pinch water out of it, and the waist is so thin. The man grinned when he heard it. In that case, I won't be polite. A gleam of light flashed in the servant's eyes. In a blink of an eye, 2 days passed, and the two agreed to prepare for surgery early the next morning. At night, He Jingheng lay on the couch with his eyes closed, but he was not sleepy at all. Not long after, there was a sound of even breathing on the bed. He slowly opened his eyes and saw that the person on the bed had fallen asleep. I really don't know how there are so many different things in her little head. He thought he had traveled a lot and had seen a lot, but in front of her, it seemed that it was not worth mentioning. She was obviously a girl who had never even left the mansion. How could she know so many strange things? And those things were all right. Every time he asked her in a roundabout way, she would use the book given by her mother to prevaricate. This was okay to deceive others, but in front of him, this lie was a bit clumsy. Looking at her sleeping face, he was a little sleepy even though he had no sleepiness at all, and he fell asleep without knowing when. Shang Ruai was actually not asleep at all, but her consciousness entered the space, and she looked like she was asleep. The surgery was to be prepared the next day, and she had to come to the operating room in advance to prepare. She hadn't performed surgery for a long time, so she was a little nervous. After preparing the equipment, she took out a bottle of medicine powder from the space. The next morning, it was already bright when He Jingheng opened his eyes. He hadn't slept so soundly for many years. At this moment, Shang Ruai's voice came to his ears. I have never seen the sleeping face of His Royal Highness the Crown Prince. For so long, when she opened her eyes every morning, He Jingheng had disappeared. When she got up in the morning today, she found that there was someone sleeping on the couch, which made her feel very strange. Her soft hair touched He Jingheng's face, itching. He curled his fingertips slightly, looked at the smile on her face, and coughed lightly. Nothing to do this morning. Shang Ruai nodded and said with a smile, After breakfast, let's prepare for surgery.
Okay.
While eating, He Jingheng said that he was going to treat his leg. Can it really be cured? Don't worry, Grandma. The miracle doctor has superb medical skills and can definitely cure your grandson's leg. He Jingheng smiled and said, Just wait for news in the mansion.
Amitabha.
The old princess' eyes were full of excitement, and she even ate a little more than usual. He Yuni looked at Shang Ruai. Sister-in-law, are you going with me? Yes. Shang Ruai picked up a piece of tofu for her. You will have to work harder today. He Yuni pouted, but I want to be with my sister-in-law. Qin rubbed her head. Your sister-in-law is marrying your brother. How can you pester her all day long? He Yuni sighed. What good things did my brother do in his previous life? He actually got such a good wife. At this time, Aunt Zhao, who was sitting at the end, snorted coldly. It may not be a good thing. Thing about our Dingwa Palace. Loyalty to the emperor and patriotism did not get a good end. It can be seen that God is afraid of evil people. Her words made everyone at the table put down their chopsticks. The originally cheerful atmosphere gradually dimmed. At this moment, Shang Ruai smiled. Aunt Zhao, what you said is wrong. If it weren't for the loyalty of our Dingwa Palace for generations and the blessing of our ancestors, could we live so comfortably in this place of exile? Shang Ruai's words made everyone feel a lot more comfortable. Humph, whatever you say. As soon as Aunt Zhao finished speaking, she was gently pushed by He Qinian, who was sitting next to her. Only then did Aunt Zhao shut up. She secretly glanced at He Jingheng. She couldn't help but curl her lips. Treat the leg? She had never heard of any miracle doctor who could cure A. It was just to cheat their money. After breakfast, Shang Ruai and He Jingheng came to the farm in the county town. Drink this medicine. Shang Ruai handed him the porcelain bottle. Take a nap after drinking it and you'll be fine. He Jingheng took it, and without asking anything else, he tilted his head back and drank the potion. Soon, a strong sense of sleepiness came over He Jingheng, and he felt his eyelids getting heavier and heavier, and soon he fell into a deep sleep. Shang Ruai gently called his name in his ear for a long time, but He Jingheng did not respond. Just in case, Shang Ruai gave him another shot of anesthetic. He Jingheng was very skilled in martial arts, and if he woke up in the middle of the night, she didn't know how to explain. Seeing that he really had no response, Shang Ruai walked out of the door and said to Yunqi, "Guard this place well, and don't let anyone in even if the sky falls." "Yes, Master Lingjun, don't worry." They had already surrounded the manor tightly, trying to prevent even a fly from flying in. Shang Ruai brought He Jingheng into the space and put him on the operating table. The operation was ready. She picked up the scalpel and cut open his legs. It took 4 hours until the last stitch was sewn, and Shang Ruai breathed a sigh of relief. She wiped the sweat from her forehead. Fortunately, her level had not deteriorated. After bandaging his leg and changing his clothes, when she had a flash of thought, and the two returned to the room. At this time, He Jingheng had not woken up yet. She rubbed her aching shoulders and smiled bitterly. She felt tired after just one operation. It seemed that she had lived too comfortably since she traveled through time. In her previous life, she could even persist in performing stage surgery. It seems that people cannot live too comfortably. At this moment, there was a noise outside the door. "You can't go in. Master Lingjun is treating the prince's injury." Yunqi's voice sounded. "We must tell the prince about this." A secret guard said, "The young lady is missing." "What? Miss Yuni is missing?" The secret guard said anxiously. "The young lady said she was going to buy needles and thread and told us not to follow her. We were worried, so we followed her from a distance. As a result, she disappeared after turning a corner." "Did she go into a shop?" The secret guard shook his head. "No, we found this on the ground." Before he could hand over the thing in his hand, he heard a creak and the door opened. The masked Master Lingjun took the jade pendant in his hand. This was the jade pendant given to her by He Jingheng. He Yuni had always treasured it like a treasure, and it would never be dropped accidentally. Someone must have kidnapped her. Shang Ruai said in a deep voice, "How long has it been?" "It's been a cup of tea. There's still time." Shang Ruai turned to Yunqi and said, "Select 10 secret guards to follow me, and the rest of you stay here." "Yes." Yuntian, who came running after hearing the voice, hesitated for a while and said, "Yunqi, apart from the master's instructions, the rest of us." Before he finished speaking, Shang Ruai took out an emerald green ring from her. As soon as the ring came out, the faces of the people standing in the yard suddenly changed. This ring. How did this ring end up in the hands of Master Lingjun? "Who are you? How do you have this ring?" Yuntian said angrily, "This is from our Dingwa palace." "Where did you get it from?" Shang Ruai glanced at him and said to Yunqi, "I am holding this ring. Do you listen to my orders or not?" "Follow the orders of Master Lingjun." "Do as I said just now." Shang Ruai said coldly. "Act immediately." "Yes." Yunqi said to Yuntian, "I will go with you to rescue the young lady. I will leave the prince to you." "Okay." Yuntian looked at Shang Ruai vigilantly. Shang Ruai and others came to the street where Shang Ruai disappeared. Her jade pen fell in front of a restaurant. Shang Ruai looked solemn and walked straight in. The owner of the restaurant was startled when he saw a group of people coming in aggressively. "What can I do for you, sir?" Shang Ruai asked in a cold voice. "Half an hour ago, did the shopkeeper see a woman being kidnapped?" Upon hearing this, the shopkeeper's eyes flickered and he shook his head and said, "No, I haven't seen it." Shang Ruai knew he was lying from the pause just now and sneered, "If you don't tell the truth when I ask you this, young master, don't blame me for being rude." "I really haven't seen it." The shopkeeper saw that she was young and was wearing a mask. "Sir, do you have anything else to do? If not, my shop still needs business. Please leave." The shopkeeper's anxious look made Shang Ruai more certain that he must know the inside story, and even that Hiyuni was very likely in his shop. Since the shopkeeper refuses to cooperate, Shang Ruai took out a dagger and threw it out. The dagger brushed the shopkeeper's shoulder and nailed to the pillar behind him.
Ah!
The shopkeeper didn't expect that she would actually attack directly. The next moment, when Shi's figure appeared in front of him like a ghost, with a sharp dagger against his neck. "I ask you again, where is she?" Shang Ruai exerted force, and the bright red blood flowed down his neck. The shopkeeper's 3 souls were gone, and seeing that she really had the intention to kill, he hurriedly said, "It was the people from Tianxi Tea House who took her away." "Tianxi Tea House?" Shang Ruai narrowed her eyes slightly, put away the dagger, and looked at him coldly. "You'd better tell the truth, otherwise." She exerted force on her hand, and the dagger shot straight out, and the porcelain bottle placed in the corner shattered. "Otherwise, this porcelain bottle will be your fate." The shopkeeper was so scared that he fell to the ground. Shang Ruai and others had been gone for a long time, but he didn't come back to his senses. All the way to Tianxi Tea House. There was no customer inside. When Shang Ruai walked in, the servant thought at first that there was a business coming, so he came to greet her cheerfully. "What would you like to buy, sir?" "Buy someone."
Buy.
"What?" Suddenly, a familiar fragrance came into her nose. It was the smell of milk tea. In the morning, Hiyuni said that she had been in the milk tea shop for a long time, and her body was stained with the aroma of milk tea. Shang Ruai grabbed the servant's throat. "Tell me, where's the woman you brought?" The servant heard this. A trace of panic flashed in his eyes, and then said, What woman?" "Still pretending." Shang Ruai said to the people behind her, "Smash it. Smash it hard." Yunqi and others heard this, picked up their weapons and started smashing things. "Don't smash it. Don't smash it." Such a big commotion alarmed the people in the backyard. "Go to the front and see what's going on." Du Sheng frowned and said angrily, "Who is so bold as to come here to make trouble?" "Sister-in-law." "It must be sister-in-law." Hiyuni held a dagger in her hand. "It must be someone from our house who came to save me. Let me go quickly, and I will spare your life." "Oh, I didn't expect you to have such a hot temper." "I like you." Du Sheng smiled. "It's romantic to die under the peony flowers. There are so many powerful people under my command that I can't count them. I'm afraid your family can't even get through the door." Hiyuni's heart sank. At this moment, a huge noise came, and the people he had just sent out were directly blasted back. "What's going on?" As soon as he finished speaking, a silver needle flew over and sank directly into his kneecap.
Ah!
A shrill scream rang out. Shang Ruai walked to his side, and kicked him into the corner with a flying kick. Where had Hiyuni seen her dressed like this? "Young master, who is young master?" Shang Ruai walked up to her, took off the mask for a moment and quickly put it on again. "Sister-in-law."
Sure.
Shang Ruai made a gesture at her lips. "Just call me young Master Lingjun." Young Master Lingjun. Hiyuni's eyes were full of stars, and she looked at her with admiration. So amazing. "Yunqi," Shang Ruai said in a deep voice. "Take the young lady back." "Yes."
But
Hiyuni whispered, "I want to be with young Master Lingjun." "Be obedient." Shang Ruai smiled. "The scene is bloody. Children can't watch it." Hearing this, Hiyuni had no choice but to follow the secret guard and leave. Yunqi stood behind Shang Ruai. "Sir, what should we do with this man?" Du Sheng looked at Shang Ruai walking towards him step by step, and couldn't help but step back. What do you want to do?" Shang Ruai sneered. "What?"
Hee.
She opened her thin lips slightly. "Do you know who you kidnapped?" "Who?" "Who gave you the courage to dare to touch our He family?" "The He family? The He family of Dinghua Palace?"
Du Sheng's voice trembled.
It seems that you know a lot. The silver needle on Shang Ruai's hand flashed, and her fingertips pressed hard and sank into the other knee.
Ah!
The scream rang again. My brother-in-law is the Minister of Industry. If you dare to hurt me, my brother-in-law will not let you go. Minister of Industry? Shangnian student, also a member of Shangnian's faction. He was also responsible for the exile of Dinghua Palace. So, what if he is the Minister of Works? Shang Ruai sneered. Do you think I will let him go? He is just a dog of Shangnian. I don't even care about Shangnian, let alone a Minister of Works. Hearing her say this, Du Shim couldn't help but be shocked. Who are you? Shangnian was the Prime Minister of Tianshan. It sounded like an ant when he came out of her mouth. Are you deaf? Master Lingjun. Du Shim lay on the ground and begged, please spare my life, Master. I was blind and didn't recognize a great man. I have offended you. I won't dare to do it again, never again. Now you're scared, but it's too late. Shang Ruai took out a porcelain bottle and smiled fiercely. I never give evil people a second chance. When you set your sights on her, you should have expected the outcome today. You can't kill me. He wanted to step back, but his legs couldn't move. Murder is illegal. What you did is not enough to kill you 1,000 times. Who doesn't know that he abducted Hyuni here to do something improper? If a woman's reputation is tarnished, can she still survive? Thinking of this, Shang Ruai stepped on his heart. Du Xing screamed in pain, and Shang Ruai threw the pill in the porcelain bottle into his mouth. Cough, cough, cough. Du Xing scratched